station, live from the Comcast Business Studios. 97.5, The Fanatic. John Kincade, Andrew Salciunas. This is Kincade and Salciunas. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Well, welcome to training camp, Philadelphia. The Philadelphia Eagles reported yesterday. Day one of camp is today. It is a new league year across the NFL, and we have a ton of high expectations, and that's why today I want to focus on the positives. Yes, believe it or not, we're allowed to do that in Philadelphia Sports Talk Radio. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
This is Kincade and Salciunas.
This year, the 2024 Phillies rotation has pitched better than the 2011 Four Aces rotation.
And it's been a bunch of years since the team has had 3 pitchers with 10 wins before the All-Star break. This is historic.
Kincade and Salciunas. John Kincade, Andrew Salciunas.
97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
And a good Wednesday morning, Philadelphia. I'm Andrew Salciunas alongside my man, John Kincade. Johnny, good morning.
Camp begins. Do you have your water bottle with your name on it?
I have more coffee. I got to run through a wall. It's camp day, John. I don't need water.
Camp.
Who needs water?
It is camp. Well, I want you hydrated. I don't want you pulling any muscles.
My hydration is vibes, Johnny. My hydration is adrenaline.
I wish we could say the same for Cooper DeJean, but we'll get into that.
Yeah, we will. That was
it's a great day.
Fun story to find out. But
it's a great day because it's finally here, and I know that we're looking to sort of draw a line today.
Yeah, I mean,
a line in the sand.
Let's just put this out there, right?
Let's do it.
We have to talk about the Eagles every single day, right? Not have to in a bad way. Like, we want to talk about the Eagles every single day.
Because it's what the people want.
It's what the people want. You know what? It's what we want
over.
to talk about because the Eagles are the NFL's king, right?
Sure.
And so the Eagles had a historic collapse last year. Historic. Like, literally, we haven't seen since the 80s, and it was even worse because there's one extra game. So forgive me. It's kind of hard to ignore all the bad things that transpired over a 2-month span, and then all we have to do from the time the Tampa Bay Buccaneers finished the victory against the Eagles until basically today is sit there and stew over that horrible collapse. Yes, there are great things that happened during the offseason, like additions of Saquon Barkley, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson coming back, all the excitement surrounding some of the guys that are getting opportunities like Cam Jurgens. I can't wait to see what Cam Jurgens could do this year. It's sad that Jason Kelce retired. That press conference choked me up, right? It was amazing. It was 45 minutes long.
It just ended.
It just ended. But like Cam Jurgens, I'm excited for. I think he's going to be a good football player. There are a lot of things to be excited about. But when you have a collapse like you did last year, it's hard to ignore all the negative things that happen. And it's hard to ignore when national reporters are still talking about a potential beef between the head coach and quarterback, two of the most important parts of a football team. Whether you want to ignore it or not, Connor Thomas, those are two of the most important parts of a football team. The head coach and the franchise quarterback, not the bridge quarterback, not the rookie quarterback that you're just going to see how he can find his way through the NFL. No, the guy that got paid $250 million and the head coach have a bit of a beef. It's hard to ignore those things. Today I want to do all that, though.
And I think today they're going to help us get there.
I think so.
I think they are. And I think this vibes that you're talking about. Now, here's something where vibes that I can get to is that if you got a group that can actually win something, focus is part of it.
Yes.
And I think this team, I believe this team's going to come in really focused, really driven, and I think exactly how you set it up. Everything since that snowy night in January versus the Buccaneers that has it's stuck in our craw all off season. Today's the cleansing. We can finally say, okay, it's time to move. It's time to get rolling. It's time to get looking towards this year, and the Eagles can give us all the great storylines.
That's why they call him Johnny Vibes. Everyone's been calling him Johnny Vibes around.
There you go. That's what I want
here at the station.
I want focus.
But yeah, man, and hopefully we get that right away, right? So
I think we will. I really do.
I'll compare it to the Phillies, right? The Phillies had a dominant season last year. It unfortunately ended way too early. I saw them at spring training. I spoke to some players on air, off air. I spoke to people that are involved with the team on air, off air, and I got the exact same thing from everybody, that they came into the season, the preseason, spring training, with a different mentality. They're still that loving group that we all love, that fun bunch of dudes, but there was more of a business-like approach, and we've seen them play that out so far this season. A nice win last night. We'll talk about that at some point. I hope we get that right away with the Eagles, and I think that we will. We have seen it through off-season workouts. Everybody showed up to OTAs for the most part, unless there was an excused absence. Like I think Landon
Bradbury
Dickerson
had one. Bradbury had one.
there was a couple
Dickerson
of excused absences for OTAs. And then when it was mandatory, everybody showed up. Since OTAs ended, we have seen multiple videos, photos of Eagles players coming together and working out. Jalen Hurts with veterans like Saquon Barkley, but also the younger players like Johnny Wilson, who they drafted this year. You have seen Milton Williams and Jordan Davis working out together. I love that. Milton Williams is in a contract year. That guy wants to get paid. Jordan Davis is going into year 3 of his NFL career. That's the year you're supposed to take that leap forward.
And has some questions to answer.
Absolutely. And
he absolutely has some things he's got to answer.
I'm glad that he's working out. That means he's trying to prove a lot of people wrong.
Well, he looks ridiculous.
He does. He does.
He looks good. But you know what, though, is there was a old expression my partner Buck Ballou taught me. Looks like Tarzan, plays like Jane. You can't. A lot of guys, I would get fooled by, look what great shape they're in.
Right.
He's like, it's how they play football.
Yeah.
Don't get sucked in. But I am sucked in on the dedication, the work ethic, the attitude. It seems like every time I see Saquon Barkley speak, and I saw him again on television last night, I get a little more fired up.
Oh, yeah, man.
Because he seems somebody who's coming into camp here with an excitement and energy and a chip on his shoulder.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ready to prove something. My cardiologist yesterday, who is a Met fan, Giant fan, he said to me yesterday, he goes, I'll make you a bet. Saquon Barkley gets 6 touchdowns against the Eagles.
Giants.
Against the Giants. Yeah. In the 2 games. And I said, well, no. I said, remember, the last game of the year is against the Giants, and
he might not need to play.
And he goes, okay, 3 in the game at MetLife.
I would love to see that. And by the way,
he believes it.
Saquon Barkley is very online, and he probably sees all the Hard Knocks stuff. Like, he probably sees that stuff.
He's loving it.
Probably motivates him a little bit more, and then he probably also laughs at the owner that's saying he's going to lose sleep overnight.
And that's got to make him feel good, though.
Yeah, I would imagine
that's
that it does.
That's a good one. That's got to make him feel pretty good.
It has to. So I want to talk about the positives today. I want to get excited today. And what really kind of got me going this morning, I realized something. You know, every once in a while you just have like that aha moment, right? Okay. Yesterday we were talking so much about the Eagles roster and how they finished second on some national lists. ESPN, Fox Sports, they had the Eagles second overall roster. And here we are breaking it down and almost not denying that they're really good, but we're saying, how are they second when their defense is suspect?
I don't think that was a weird
I don't think
thing
so.
At all on our part.
I think we're so entrenched, we're so in the weeds with the Eagles that we may see flaws more than we should. And the reason why I say that, this morning I'm reading an article on Fox Sports, the same website that had the Eagles ranked second overall, their roster.
Right.
They have an article of the quarterbacks who are entering 2024 under the most pressure. Where do you think Jalen Hurts ranks out of the 8 quarterbacks that they have on here?
I think that Josh Allen is above him.
Just give me a number, 1 through 8.
I'd say probably top 3.
Connor?
Top half, 4, and maybe 5.
Trick question. He's not ranked.
He isn't. Okay, wait. I got to hear the quarterbacks that are under more pressure than him.
So, Tua at number 1.
I think that's because he's in a contract year.
Yeah.
So he's literally playing it without a contract.
Dak Prescott, number 2. Same thing.
He's playing without a
contract.
contract.
And how many times have we talked about the flaws in the playoffs?
Okay.
Right? The guy that can put up he's Clayton Kershaw of the NFL. The guy that can put up all the numbers in the regular season.
Absolutely.
Can't back it up in the playoffs. They can't win a freaking playoff game. Same with Tua. He scored 70 points in a game last year. He's 0-2 in his playoff career. So those are your first 2. And then number 3 on this list is Bryce Young, because they drafted him number 1 overall. He sucked last year. He looks like he can't even throw football. Kirk Cousins at number 4 got paid a monster contract.
He did.
Already has a potential backup that was drafted.
Michael Penix, right?
Yes, that he might have to prove that he should be the guy moving forward. Daniel Jones comes in at number 5. Russell Wilson at 6. Josh Allen at 7. Aaron Rodgers at 8. And it made me think, is there as much pressure on Jalen Hurts as we thought there would be?
You know what that list, though, is? That list is guys playing for a contract. That they might as well put a list and said, who are the quarterbacks that are playing for a contract? I don't think that necessarily translates in a NFL that is so desperate for quarterback play. If Dak Prescott goes out this year and the Cowboys go 7-10, do you think Dak Prescott's going to be hurting to find a new contract next year?
No, I don't think so.
Do you think Tua, if the Dolphins were ever stupid enough to let him go, you think he's going to be hurting for finding a team that's going to give him a team? So I think they wrote that list saying, here's guys that
Josh Allen's under contract through 2028.
Yeah, but Josh Allen is a guy, to me, it's more pressure. Because Josh Allen is a guy who is trying to, his reputation is on the line.
Well, yeah, but
he's got to get his team over the hood.
So is Tua and Dax. Tua's 0-2 in the playoffs.
I think there's more pressure on Josh Allen. I think there's more pressure on take you down to Baltimore. And I'd tell you right now, I think that may be the most pressure.
I don't know if a 2-time MVP is being talked about as like this is almost a make or break year
his coach
for him.
just said he's going to be the greatest NFL quarterback in history.
And you know what? And you know what that means? You better deliver.
Okay.
You better deliver because you know what you haven't done? When playoff expectations are there, you don't deliver.
But they got to the AFC Championship game where all those other quarterbacks that I mentioned have not.
Let's ask Donovan McNabb about this.
Yeah, no, I get it.
You know what I mean? It's at some point where I think quarterbacks with expectations to win that are more about and have had playoff failure are under more pressure than guys who have not.
Okay, and Jalen Hurts has not had playoff failure. Kind of. He got to the Super Bowl.
He did, but last year was terrible.
All 8 of those of course, the whole team was terrible.
No, but last year, that playoff game.
No, he was horrible. He sucked. He ran back 14 yards and gets sacked in the end zone for a safety. Like it was horrible.
I hope that drives him. I think
it will.
And I have every belief that it will, too.
We know Jalen Hurts as much as we know, the surface that we know. Well, no, I think it will drive him.
I'll go back to his college career. I think he's driven. I think he is a driven athlete.
Right.
And to me, I'm expecting a lot of great vibes. Mm-hmm. And there will be
vibes.
And there's going to be no sight of any clubhouse DJs. It's just going to be about the team coming up and giving us good things to talk about. And I feel very good about where we're starting.
And that's why I kind of had that aha moment. As much as I look at things that might be the cracks in the armor of the Philadelphia Eagles, what do they have to do to overcome what happened last season? A historic collapse. Again, it's hard for me to forget what happened last year.
It should be.
But when I'm reading national media people talk about how the Eagles have a top 2 roster in the NFL, Jalen Hurts isn't even in the top 8 of quarterbacks for most pressure. Man, maybe I should just sit back and enjoy training camp and have some fun. I know that's all Connor Thomas wants to do.
Maybe you should. It's a lot more fun on this side, it feels, at least from my perspective, to just enjoy how good this team could possibly. I know they have questions, right?
Of course.
No one's going to go into this season totally blind to what happened last year, but when you look at this roster, they're unbelievable. When you look at this coaching staff and the coordinators they brought in, the resumes are sterling. When you look at Howie Roseman and what he may still have to do to just make a couple tweaks the rest of the way, you have one of the best in the business. You have an owner that's committed to winning. You have a fan base that's ravenous. You have everything you need to be a great football team in this city this year.
Okay, the question is this. And I asked both of you, and I saved this from our pre-show. Do you believe the national media, the guys who look in on what – now, they have great Rolodexes to be able and phone numbers to be able to get in. But do you believe the guys who have their eyeballs on the Eagles every single day, live it, breathe it, eat it, bathe in it, have better insight than people who are looking in from the outside?
Absolutely.
Yeah, of course.
So I think that they are getting – like the roster thing. I still can't figure it out.
No, neither can I.
I still can't figure it out. I don't know what they're looking at, and I want to believe they're right. I just don't, because I think that we've made a very credible case for this doesn't make sense. But I think there's a great reason for enthusiasm if you're an Eagles fan that last year you had incompetent leadership that hopefully doesn't include your head coach.
Right, but and to your point, I do agree.
You know what I mean?
I think locally you know more than somebody nationally.
We used
right?
to call it the Peter King theory.
Okay.
And we had a thing where we would call it the Peter King theory. Peter King can pick up the phone and talk to Nick Sirianni.
Right.
Can talk to Howie Roseman and get that, But Peter King doesn't live, eat, breathe
Right.
the Eagles every day.
Right. That's
We
why
do.
when Adam Schefter tells me to get over the collapse, it's like, whoa,
He's not
hold on a
living
second,
it.
dude. You're not living it the way I do. But
He is right, though.
I will say this.
I don't know. I don't know if he's right. I don't know if he's right.
I'm team.
Gotcha.
I will say this.
Team Schefter.
We look at teams all the time outside of Philadelphia in sports, and we might rate them too highly or too negatively. Oh, that guy stinks. Oh, why is that guy ranked so high? So, maybe the national media, because they are unbiased, right? They are supposed to be unbiased. Maybe they have a better feel in it than we give them credit for.
I don't think you're. I don't think you're. I think they're. How about this? They're less emotional.
Right.
Is that it? Like they watch it dispassionately. We watch it passionately.
Right.
We consume the content with great passion, great energy. With that, though, comes some irrational times.
Oh, yeah.
and
Absolutely.
Count me in. Count me in. There's times where the way I'm watching it is okay. That's not. You're watching it with too much. You're getting too emotional about it.
Right.
But I think it's so. I got to tell you today. I think we're on the dawn of a very special season.
Absolutely. So today's a day where we focus on the positives. We focus on what we're excited about. We would love to have just overall Eagles discussion, as today is the first day of training camp. You could text in, you could call in 610-632-0975. We're going to get into a discussion, and you could start sending in your answers now. We're going to get into a discussion in the next segment about the thing that we are most excited to follow during training camp. Because today is a day where it's overall excitement, I want you to start sending in that answer now so that we can roll through a bunch of them, because it will give us a chance to react to it. Maybe we missed something. Today's a big day for Philadelphia Eagles and Philadelphia Eagles fans, and we want to share it with you at 610-632-0975.
You got me excited. Just
Damn
saying,
right, man.
Just saying, it's a great time because this is what we all put. We invest so much into this, and I'm talking the listenership.
Yeah.
I'm talking about this radio station. I'm talking about the Eagles themselves. This is our time now, and I think we got a lot of good things to look forward to.
And I've said this a million times. It's the league that never sleeps. Ever since the Eagles season came to an end, we've talked about the Eagles.
Yes, we do.
And because there's so much to talk about, and the league does that for you, the Super Bowl ends, and a week later, you're talking about free agency. Right? Like, that's how quick of a turnaround it is. Like, I feel like in baseball, you win the World Series in October, maybe November. Some of the best players aren't getting signed until February, right? Like multiple months after the season comes to an end. Man, there's movement in the NFL within a month.
There
The
is.
league never sleeps. OTAs are 2 months after the season ends.
And we get told, and many of our listeners, people who listen to this radio station, will be like, "Oh my God, it's like I got Eagles fatigue." You guys talk about the Eagles all the time. It's the Eagles they're the straw that stirs the drink.
Yeah, they're the
It
crown
is.
jewel of the city, and
that's where it is.
And it's the crown jewel sport when it comes to football. Now there is another team in action. Philly.
There is?
Yes,
Yeah,
the
that was a good
Philadelphia
one.
Phillies.
Only in the ninth.
The Phillies win yesterday, 64-30. Sorry,
What?
their record is 64-37.
That was a big. I didn't see all
it was
those
a long
runs,
game.
Connor.
They're
That was
still
a long
playing.
game. That was
It
one
was
of your,
nothing,
that was one of your
nothing in the eighth.
softball games.
How did that happen?
They are 64-37 with their 3-0 win last night over the Twins. All 3 runs coming in the 9th inning. Brandon Marsh with a ribby. Nick Castellanos with 2 RBI last night. By the way, Zach Wheeler was freaking
my
phenomenal,
gosh.
man. I told you, you asked me when we first got into the parking lot this morning. I said, did you finish the game? I said, no, I fell asleep after Wheeler got out of the 7th. Well, what a way to go to bed, man. Watching Wheeler with 2 guys on, get out of that inning to finish his outing. 3 hits on the day, 2 walks, strikes out 7 with all the concerns about the back. He looked freaking healthy yesterday.
And if I'm not mistaken, through 3 innings, he was at around just under 50 pitches. And then he went on like the mow down.
Well,
day.
Yeah, he's at like 46 or something.
And the first inning, he had what, like 22, 20? Like he actually
Yeah.
had
And
a
then-
decent amount in the first inning, settles in.
And then he just went on the mow down tour.
And that just
It was-
reminds you how dominant that guy can be. And then you have your bullpen of Jeff Hoffman, Gregory Soto, and Matt Strahm just go out there and pitch 2 scoreless innings for you. And then the bats come alive and have a big moment against Johan Duran. I know he's down a little bit this year compared to last season, but that guy's still got electric stuff.
Sure he
and
does.
the bats come alive. Look, would I wish it was 10-0? Of course. Do I wish they scored 3 runs maybe earlier in the game and not all the way until the 9th? Yeah, maybe. Bottom line is they did it, and they got the win yesterday. And for a team that a lot of people are freaking out about, thinking that they're leaking oil. As I said yesterday, the only people that are spiraling out of control are Phillies fans, not the team itself. That's a good win yesterday. I hope that puts a lot of people at ease, even though, as Connor said, they didn't score till the 9th. And I saw all the Phillies have been scoreless since, how many innings?
It's been a struggle.
It has been.
It's been a struggle bus. But if you're obsessing on the Phillies being in trouble, every other Major League Baseball team is in worse trouble.
Absolutely. Every other Major League Baseball team is having stretches just like this. They still haven't been swept this season.
It's unreal.
All year long. They've been dominant. They're going to turn things around. Nice night for the Phillies yesterday. Zach Wheeler.
Turn things around.
Zach Wheeler, I love you.
Just hear that.
Yeah, the 64-37 Phillies
are
will
going to turn things around.
It's unbelievable that I have to say that because people are panicking.
Not anymore.
I love you, Zach Wheeler. All right, coming up next. I mentioned it. The thing that you're most excited about when it comes to Eagles training camp and the Eagles season. I want to get your answers. I want some answers on the text line. And also, as excited as we are, the Eagles were already bit by the injury bug.
Oh, boy.
We tell you who and maybe how.
No,
next.
not how.
It's Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. 97.5 The Fanatic. On day one of training camp for the Philadelphia Eagles, they reported yesterday, you just heard it in the update from Connor Thomas, that Nick Sirianni will be speaking at 9 o'clock. It was originally 9:30, got moved up to 9 o'clock. It'll happen at 9:15, trust me. But make sure you're listening.
Is that Eagles time?
Oh, yeah, dude. The Eagles time. They live their own time. It's unbelievable. But Nick Sirianni will speak around 9 o'clock. We will carry it live here on Kincade and Salciunas, and then we'll obviously react to it. Now, for all the positives that I want to talk about, for all the things that I'm excited about, we could find out pretty quickly today if certain things are heading in the right direction with Nick Sirianni and the Jalen Hurts discussion. Because
we could.
As much as we have said, we can't wait to hear Jalen Hurts respond the first time he's asked about Nick Sirianni, I'm sure there's going to be a question for Nick Sirianni about Jalen Hurts and how much has been made of this potential beef between the two. Right? Maybe beef is too harsh, but you get what I'm saying.
The potential conflict.
Right.
Or misconnection.
And I hope somebody asks him about it. And I hope Sirianni gives an answer that kind of puts us all at ease. And I know Sirianni is normally Mr. Brightside and Mr. Positive, and
he is.
And as we have said multiple times, he has had Jalen Hurts' back, not necessarily the other way around.
And
but
he'll continue to.
This is his first. This will be the first one since OTAs, since months of conversation about the beef between the two.
Know what they're going to say? If Nick Sirianni does get asked that question today, and somebody will, Nick Sirianni is going to say, I don't know where this is coming from. No, we have a good relationship.
Jalen and I have a great relationship.
Jalen and I have I love Jalen. It'll be, I would tell you this, I love Jalen will come out of his mouth.
Okay.
I love Jalen.
I think you're right.
Like he's going to be, and I truly believe Nick Sirianni has been the bigger man in this squabble because he constantly covers for his players. He's in that way, he's very new school about a lot of things.
Right.
But he's very old school with that. He has never once pushed the blame
it's like Andy Reid
on his player.
It's very Andy Reid-esque when it comes to that stuff.
I admire the hell out of that.
Yeah, of course.
Because when you're constantly getting abused for, he's a buffoon, he's over his head, and you don't take the opportunity to say, well, wait a minute here. That wasn't on me. I admire that about Nick Sirianni a lot.
Yeah.
In the way he goes.
And we'll hear from him at 9 o'clock, and maybe things we can get a glimpse about whether or not this relationship is getting better. And I'm excited for that because I'm expecting it.
Correct.
Like, I'm expecting this to be
put to bed today.
Well, maybe not today.
Oh, really?
But come week one, I think things will be smooth.
I think this is going to be put to bed today. I think that I honestly do not think we will talk about it after Nick and Jalen both have their first times to speak. I think this will be put on a shelf, and it'll all be about what they do on the field. I don't think we're gonna see, because Jalen can't let it happen. He cannot let a fourth opportunity come by.
Right, he can't.
To leave this, and I don't believe he will. He's a smart guy. Jalen's a smart guy, and he's very calculating. That's why I'm surprised that he sort of stepped in the dog poo like
right,
this.
from the very beginning, right?
Yes.
All right, in a couple minutes, I want to get the thing that you're most excited for training camp as it begins today, and I would love to get your answers. You could text it, you could call in, 610-632-0975. What is the storyline that you are most excited to follow? Again, excited, not what's the storyline that you're going to be following most.
Right.
In a dramatic way. No, excited. Like, today's a day of excitement. Today's a day where we want to be positive because it's a new story.
Yes.
A new book. The book's cracking. It's freshly being opened. That new book smell, that new first crack of the book finally being
you had
opened.
to go smell.
Yeah, man,
No,
sorry.
the new book smell is...
It's a great smell.
It is a great smell.
Oh, now rub it in.
I was sending Andrew pictures the other day from one of his favorite book places. When I was in Manhattan, Liv dragged me to her mother and I to the Harry Potter.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Harry Potter store.
I'm all for it, brother.
In Manhattan, if you haven't seen it.
Damn right.
And that place, they have a book room.
And it's a book smell.
And it smelled like new.
Smells like new
they have
books,
every
man.
edition of every Harry Potter book you can buy.
Right.
And it smelled really good in there.
Damn right. So I'm sorry for those of you who can't smell.
Exactly.
It's a new story for the Philadelphia Eagles today. Want to get your excitement, but before we do that,
what's the but?
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm gonna
exactly.
I'm gonna try to be mature here.
Okay.
Late last night,
a
story comes out from Tim McManus that Cooper DeJean will be missing the first 3 weeks of training camp.
Really?
And it's a hamstring injury, which sucks because you know how hammies are. Like a hamstring injury, it might be
Can
3
linger.
weeks. They can linger, and he's a guy that's very sneaky athletic. That,
Really?
That does a
Is that
lot.
your-
That does a lot of movement.
Is that your code word?
No, yeah, absolutely. And in football, obviously, you need it's if you have a messed up hamstring in football, that's hard to work through. But
And
it's
you don't
early.
want to mess with a hamstring.
Right, and you don't want to push it. And so Cooper DeJean, the first 3 weeks, has been placed on the non-football injury list. Of course,
What does
we
that mean?
all have the exact. The Eagles are confident in a quick recovery and that he will contribute as expected this season. He was placed on the non-football injury list because he was caught in an awkward position during off-season training.
Hey now,
We all had the same thought. Yeah, dude, what are you doing, man?
like what's going on with Cooper? I mean, seriously, I don't know what that means.
Hey, bro, it happens.
It happens, I guess.
I don't know what it means, but it was when he was in training. You forget about the
training.
one word.
Yeah.
It was when he was,
He was in training. But it's a shame because camp's about to start today. And Cooper DeJean is a guy that a lot of people are excited to follow
By the
along
way-
this offseason because we don't know where he's going to play yet, but we know he's going to play.
And that's something that really, really bothers me about it, is the fact that 3 weeks of your first NFL
it
training
sucks.
camp with a new defensive coordinator that's waiting to deploy you, that is a secondary, a guy who is known as sort of a secondary guru.
Right.
You can do all the work you want in the classroom. Being out there in the field matters.
Yeah,
Being
and
up
it
against
sucks.
real competition matters. This is concerning, at least to
It was
me.
like a kick in the shin, right? I'm so excited.
Is that what actually happened to him or something
Yeah,
else?
I don't know what happened to him. But, remember the night before your first day of school? You're all excited. You're all fired up. That was me last night. And then it's like
You get a stain on your T-shirt at breakfast, the one you picked out that you wanted to wear.
it's the night. This happened the night before, so it's
Okay.
like maybe your buddy texts you like, "Hey, I remember how we were in class together? I had to switch to go to this class." Like the night before, you find that out. Yeah, if you get a stain on your shirt the night before, you wash it, or you get a different shirt, right?
I had an analogy.
This is the night
Connor.
before.
Connor's literally had the clothes in the dryer shrink
Oh, yeah,
so
100%
they could
did.
be a little tighter.
Yeah,
Gotta fit
100%
tight,
did.
baby.
So there's your news on Cooper DeJean, non-football injury list because of an awkward position during
An
off-season
awkward
training.
position. That's
Awkward
I,
position,
I don't
man.
think I've ever, in all the explanations I've ever gotten from a PR team, have I ever heard that. Got caught in an awkward position. What does that mean?
I don't know. Maybe we'll find out today when Nick Sirianni speaks at 9 o'clock. Who knows? Maybe Cooper DeJean will speak at some point. I don't know. It just kind of stinks. All right. The thing that I am most excited for camp is the fact that it's a bit of an old school training camp. That they're actually going to practice. That they're actually going to take their time to practice. Not Oklahoma drills. Not 2 days. Not, I want you to run until you puke. Like that
Okay.
kind of stuff. But the fact that they're actually going to practice is what excites me most. And it's because you have two new coordinators. You also have an old school defensive coordinator in Vic Fangio. And by all reports, he's the guy that kind of put that in the brain of Nick Sirianni. Sirianni himself admitted that what happened last year was probably too far, that they went too far away from working. And I like it when my team is more prepared for week one. I hate the continuation of the preseason discussion that we always hear the first 4 weeks. I'd rather my team be clicking on all cylinders to start the regular season. And you're starting to see that that's what they're going to do this training camp. And that's the number one thing I'm most excited about, that we're also going to actually have talking points from training camp. Last year, there was nothing to talk about. It was a boring offseason last year. It was a boring camp to
Well, that's
react
because
to.
there was only one right answer.
Yeah.
Last year, the only right answer you got coming off a Super Bowl loss where you're tied inside the 2-minute warning is that get back to the Super Bowl, win a Super Bowl.
Right.
This year, you got all the drama of trying to fix the things that were wrong. I'm surprised that is what's exciting you about training.
I can't be excited for a training camp that's not actually training camp. In years past, John,
Okay.
I have mocked people that got excited for training camp. Mocked. I heard our own Ray Dunn. Like, I heard myself as Ray Dunn yesterday.
Okay.
Ray Dunn was on with, obviously Bob and Amy yesterday from the Sixers practice facility. And
Sure.
he said, why should I get excited for camp when they're just running around in shorts and they're not hitting each other? That was my mentality the last 3 years because the Eagles made me have that mentality.
I don't think Ray is necessarily incorrect with that. Like, as far as that's not irrational.
No, it's not.
But to me, the idea is why you should be excited is because you actually have a scientist that is coaching this team's on defense.
Damn right, man.
You have a guy who is you have a teacher in play. And to me, that's what's so exciting, is that now you have a guy who, if there's one thing about his history, now look, his average defense is around 12th. So it's not like he's building you some historic defense, the early 2000s Ravens or anything like that. But I believe we finally have a teacher in place.
Yeah.
And I'm anxious to see the secondary is going to have my total
absolutely.
attention. And that's one of the reasons why Cooper DeJean being out really sort of
it bums you out. And it's funny, full disclosure, I'm doing a top 5 list for our website, 975thefanatic.com, our digital content of the 5 things I'm most excited to watch during camp. And I told you the old school training camp is number 1. I have Vic Fangio / Kellen Moore on here, and I have Quinyon Mitchell on here, right? Secondary.
Okay.
So, I think we're all going to be kind of around the same page, but we might all have different answers. So, Connor, what's the thing that you're most excited to pay attention to during a training camp that actually matters and seems like it will actually be happening?
Well, I want to see, I know the tweets from the beats are like, oh, Jalen 7 for 11 from this against nobody out there. But I do want to see, I'm going to be looking at my Twitter timeline and hoping for a bomb to A.J. Brown, a nice wheel route to Saquon Barkley out of the backfield, an out route to Dallas Goedert, in succession. I want to see just how awesome it looks to have Saquon Barkley added into an offense that already had too many weapons.
You want to basically see the ball being spread around from tweets of local beat reporters.
Yeah, dude. I'm going to feel like I'm watching. You remember the first time we saw this Team USA basketball team practice with all these dudes?
Yeah.
And it's just you got LeBron and Steph and Embiid and Tatum and all of these guys. It's just I'm going to be so excited to say, oh, there's another great player. There's another great player.
Yeah.
And mainly on the offensive side of the ball because I look at the positives
of course,
more,
absolutely.
I like your positivity again. This is 2 days in a row.
I love it.
I like that way of...
Well, today's a positive show, John.
That whole thing. The only thing I don't want, though, is I don't want what you were talking about. The Jalen Hurts was... he sailed a ball to A.J. Brown over his head. He was 11 for 17, and he missed 2 opportunities right over the...
Well, man,
I don't need that. I don't need it at all.
You're getting it, man. You're going to be getting it. And it starts today as training camp begins. So, I would love to hear from you. You can text in, you can call in, 610-632-0975. What is it that you're most excited to follow during training camp? A training camp that is actually going to be a training camp and not just, what were you calling it, the summer camp that was last year?
It's Camp Serianni, Club Med.
No, it's going to be a real training camp this year. What are you most excited to be following? Also, coming up next, press conferences and interviews in Sixers land yesterday. You will hear from Daryl Morey and Nick Nurse. These should both fire you up. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Bob Cooney.
Kevin Sullivan is on the line with us. Thanks so much for being on the show.
Talking with the newsmakers.
Salciunas, 97.5, The Fanatic. We're going to check out the text line momentarily. Our question today, what are you most excited to be following during training camp? Now, what are you most excited for in the 2024 Eagles season? And again, excited. This is not a, what are you worried about?
No,
What's your
what
biggest
you're excited
question?
about.
I want to have a positive show today, Johnny.
I think that it's this should be the rip off the Band-Aid show.
Yeah, damn right, man.
Let's get it started.
This season should be a lot of fun, just like last year should have been fun.
Last year was a lot of fun for a couple months.
Yeah, and then the last two were miserable. This year should be more fun. There should not be a miserable 2-month stretch. So what are you most excited for to follow along during training camp for the Philadelphia Eagles? You can text in, call in 610-632-0975. But before we do that, I want to check out a couple of the clips. So yesterday, great day on the station when it came to the Sixers. The best show ever had Paul George on, and of course, middays with Bob Cooney and Amy Fadul and Ray Dunn. They were at the Sixers practice facility.
Really nice coverage.
Oh, it was fantastic. They carried the press conferences of Tyrese Maxey and Paul George. Daryl Morey and Nick Nurse were on the podiums with the press conferences, but they also joined middays. Paul George with the best show ever. Everybody else joined the midday show. And I loved a lot of the stuff that we heard yesterday. And one of the things you and I both agree on, Daryl Morey and a statement that he made yesterday when he was on with Bob and Amy should fire you up. Take a listen.
We're right there in the conversation with a very small number of teams, top 3, top 2, top 4 in the league, somewhere in there. Obviously, you got to give the Celtics their credit. They won the title. They're an excellent team. They brought everybody back. They're the target, but, we don't feel like we give up anything to them, and we're going to be coming to take the title away from them.
Like, that's awesome.
And I'm going to tell you, how rare is that? Do you hear a Philadelphia executive call out another team, put the expectations clearly on the line? Daryl Morey is not going to shy away from any of these expectations. He's not going to shy away of what we should think this season's going to be about. To me, that put the big. I mean, as much as training camp opening today, that one soundbite put the biggest smile on my face yesterday.
Yeah, he just straight up said we're going to go after that title. And look, I think that's expected without saying it, but that puts a target on himself.
It does, and of expectation.
Yes.
And I love the guy who embraces the expectations. He's got it on him, and he is absolutely fired up about it. I still can't believe the team they put together.
Right. I mean, it's amazing. Remember, last year it was, hey, be patient, be patient,
Correct.
be patient. This year it's, hey, we believe that we're one of the top teams in the NBA, and we're going to go after it. And I love that Daryl Morey felt comfortable and confident to say that with Bob and Amy yesterday. Also, Nick Nurse joined them, and I love this one because one of my first things, remember during the crossover that we do every day with Bob, I was like, hey, how excited do you think Nick Nurse is? Because all of a sudden he has a legitimate roster in front of him that's still not finished. Well, Nick Nurse talked about that.
I'm going to have some patience. Certainly got some ideas, but most of them are in pencil right now, seriously about like what we're even going to run, what we're going to do. I would expect a lot of experimentation on schemes, both sides of the ball. And again, I always say this, I've no doubt when something doesn't work, I'll crumple it up faster than the next guy and throw it away, right? But it will unfold. I think what we play like at the end won't be what it's like at the beginning. Even like rotations, minutes, who looks good together, who's better coming off the bench, who's better starting, what's a second unit look like, all that stuff I think needs some eyeballs on it and some time on the court.
I love that.
And that's the guy he is.
Yes.
Or at least that's the guy. I don't know Nick Nurse, but that's the guy that reading his book and observing him, that seems like the guy he is. He's scheming up everything.
He's been called by Raptors players. He was called the mad scientist.
Right.
I forget who it was, but I did the show at the Sixers Youth Gala with Bob and Tyrone last year, and we spoke with many players. One of the players said, "Yeah, man, I heard about him being the mad scientist. He is. He's an evil scientist with all the schemes that guy can come up with. I can picture him with the pencil and the bar napkin, just writing these plays down.
I'm seeing a legal pad.
Yeah, okay.
I'm seeing like yellow legal pads.
Yeah, but you don't think he's at a bar and all of a sudden it just hits him like, oh my God, this is a great play.
I saw him as a chalkboard guy.
Chalkboard.
Whiteboard or chalkboard?
No, chalk.
saying
Come
chalk.
on.
Yeah, chalk.
We're going
Whiteboard?
chalk
No,
with
if
that.
you're a true scientist, you're
Chalkboard's
chalkboard.
cooler, by the
Goodwill
way.
Hunting style.
It's so
Just
much
put
cooler.
together.
Chalkboard's
How do you
cooler.
like them apples?
No one's been able to solve this equation in 10 years of Joel Embiid. He's going to
There you
solve
go.
it.
Nick Nurse will solve it. And I love
That's
that he
the
said he's
hardest
going to have
equation
the,
ever.
It is. He said he's going to be patient with it, but I love that he's probably fired up about what he has in front of him.
Makes me smile too. It makes me smile too. I think we have we have some good people in charge.
Absolutely, we have good people in charge. We just need to see it actually play out. And
Yes.
I think I'm not going to get ahead of myself. I'm not going to get ahead of
You
myself.
think what?
Maybe this
Spit
year,
it out.
maybe this year could be the year. We'll talk about it later on. As the show continues, we will play more and more clips from the interviews and the press conferences yesterday. Nick Nurse, Daryl Morey, Paul George, Tyrese Maxey. You'll get them all show today here on Kincade and Salciunas. But let's check the text line, Connor. What do we have coming in about the Eagles and the people's excitement for training camp?
Colby from Central PA sent us a tome. I could barely fit this whole text in one screenshot on the phone, but he says, most excited to see Saquon Barkley not only run but catch out of the backfield. There are more than a couple key players in positions, but strictly speaking, offense, I think what Barkley can do only from production is amazing, taking pressure off Jalen, receivers, other stuff. And he ends this long message with saying, we're going to the ship. So
Let's do
he's
it.
already ready.
That's
go.
fine. That's fine.
I would
No,
love to
we
go to the
actually
ship.
would be going to Bourbon Street.
I would do that too.
No, that's really, really fun.
That sounds like a lot of fun. Now, it's funny. You, Connor, and Colby both said Saquon. Or, well, you said the combination of all the talent.
Right.
What are you hesitating?
The running back is kind of. They should probably also wear the red jersey during training camp. They don't get.
Yeah.
They don't get. Like, I can't wait to watch Saquon Barkley play for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Is there a button here?
No, what is he going to do in training camp? Like, you know.
Bro, have you seen him in shorts? Come on.
Okay, he's not going to.
That was a little too enthusiastic.
He's not going to.
Guy's got
He's not.
quads.
I'm talking training camp, right? He's not going to hit the hole, right? They kind of part the Red Sea for the running backs. They blow the whistle, right? So I'm
They
excited
got
to
the
see.
pennies on.
I'm excited to watch him play football, not necessarily train camp. And you can have your answer. You're entitled to your
Okay,
answer.
I don't like your attitude this morning.
Why?
I don't like that.
You're not, they basically don't get touched.
So let's hang on now a second, Mr. Motion. Let's say they're running something in shorts, and you see Saquon Barkley split out as like a slot wide
Right.
receiver, and then
I thought you were
motion
going to bring up the shorts again.
and then motion back behind the backfield, and they run like some counter to the other side. Is that not gonna?
No, that will fire me up. And you know,
Okay,
and
get
you know,
fired up
you know
then.
why it will fire me up? Because I think it'll be real. Remember last year? Oh, DeAndre Swift is lining up in the slot.
And they hardly ever did it.
I don't
Hardly
think they- I
ever.
don't think they
no,
ever did it.
They did it a few times.
I don't think they ever did it, John.
They did it a few times.
Maybe I must have ignored it.
I got to tell you this right now. I got geeked out about watching Kellen Moore and just the formations and Jalen Hurts being under center.
Oh yeah.
I can't
was
wait
just
to
from
see.
OTAs.
Now I'll see that all training camp and be like, now we got a big boy offense.
Can't wait for it. All right, coming up next, we reset the show. We get to more of your text messages. Answer the question, what are you most excited to watch and follow during training camp for the Philadelphia Eagles? And coming up next, I saw an interesting article from Tim McManus. He did a deep dive on the 2024 Eagles, and he had some questions or topics. Biggest question, most compelling camp battle, most impactful offseason addition, and the player with the most to prove. We'll go through Tim McManus' article and see if we agree or not. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. Camp Day, show 93, day one of Camp Day on Kincade and Salciunas. We welcome you in.
93 was a great year.
I'm happy for you.
Until Mitch Williams.
Oh,
Mitch.
I helped that year out a little bit.
You did?
I was born.
You weren't alive for that pitch.
No, and so I
still think
ended the year out good.
I still think it's absolutely crazy that I can remember walking out of a bar on Villanova's campus while your mom, well, my adopted mom, was 8 months pregnant with you.
Yeah.
7 months pregnant with you.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
And then I was born. I saved Philadelphia in 1993. I mean, that's basically what the people are saying on the streets.
I didn't realize
what
that.
people are saying.
Everybody's saying it.
Okay.
All right, so coming up in about 10 minutes, we'll go through this article with Tim McManus of ESPN.com. He did his 2024 Philadelphia Eagles training camp preview. The bold topics, in bold, I should say. Biggest question, most compelling position battle, most impactful offseason addition, and the player with the most to prove. So what I will do is I will see if you have the answer correct, and then I will see if you agree or disagree with what Tim McManus had to say. Sound good?
So you can tell us whether we have it correct.
Yes. Well,
This is interesting.
Whether or not you agree with Tim McManus.
Okay, that's it.
On a, at,
He's a
at the
smart
beginning.
guy.
Right.
But,
he is.
He may be off base on a couple of these.
You might be right. Who knows? But before we do that, I want to check out the text line again. You can text the show, call the show, 610-632-0975. Today, we're talking about what we are most excited to follow during Eagles training camp. I am excited to follow the more old school training camp approach because I like when my team is actually prepared. I do not like the bull spit excuse of, well, the first 4 weeks is the continuation of the preseason. No, I want my team clicking because I don't want to try to figure out what is wrong with my team through 4 weeks. I would like to be ready to play week one, especially when you have a tough opponent week one in the Green Bay Packers in a tough environment. It's not home. It's not in Green Bay. It's not in the United States of America. All right, so it's like I want to be prepared for this.
Is that a tough environment, Brazil, or do you think it's just? I think it's difficult on both teams.
Yeah, exactly.
It's an odd setting.
Clicking as much as possible. I'd rather be the Eagles right now than the Packers, who have a quarterback that's not participating in practice right now because of a contract, right? So, I'm happy that I'm the Eagles right now. I would like to try to get rid of not even drama. I'm saying I want to try to get rid of every little bit of, I don't know, things that they have to get through, the soft tissue injuries. Have some contact in practice. Play in the preseason.
Well, we didn't even get Cooper DeJean to the practice
Well, I know, but you got to get through some of this stuff.
Injured.
See, I told you a hard training camp would be dangerous.
Yeah, exactly.
what, moving in?
Yeah, dude.
Moving into
it's tough.
and he doesn't even have to move into the dorms.
Yeah,
I saw guys coming up too with the roller bags and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait a minute. The lockers are not. I've been in that locker room. It's not that big.
They got all their stuff, Johnny.
What's all the stuff you're bringing in giant roller bags?
They're ready. They're ready.
No. They'll bring all that stuff for you. He doesn't have to bring in. They're not bringing in their
custom,
own.
bro.
Maybe somebody had a date after the move-in day yesterday. After a report day.
I saw it move-in day.
A report day.
This is a day of when they took them to camp and actually made them stay in a dormitory.
They're not sleeping in the locker room?
No, that's what Patrick Mahomes has to do, though.
Yeah, how about that? So, what are you guys most excited about? I know John is most excited about seeing the professor of Vic Fangio. I think you would also say the same thing about Kellen Moore.
Oh, Kellen Moore, I can barely contain my excitement.
Right.
I am a dork. I am an absolute dork for what he's going to bring to the table. I'm going to watch all the snaps that they show on video, and you'll be like, oh, my gosh, look at this.
Look at this wrinkle.
Jalen Hurts is under center again. Oh, my gosh. We don't have to be in shotgun?
Oh, and if you are in shotgun.
On first and goal from the 3, we don't have to be in shotgun? This is amazing.
Well, you can be in shotgun. How about
we don't have to
How about
be.
you have pre-snap motion?
How about
you do things where the defense has to freaking think?
Count on it. You're going to get that. Count on it.
Absolutely.
There's no problem with that.
And then Connor's excited to see all the talent that this Eagles offense has following along. Jeff McClain's not a live tweeter.
He won't do the
whoever the live tweeters are.
Oh, we know them.
They're tweeting out A.J. Brown, Saquon Barkley, Dallas Goedert, Devontae Smith. That's
And
a good
stats.
answer, Connor. We'd love to hear from you. 610-632-0975. So what do we have on the text line, Connor?
Larry from Delco checks in and says, my storyline I'm excited to follow is how the offense will look at Kellen Moore in charge. I think that's very interesting.
It is.
interesting.
That's a good point, Larry. And
I'm taking a little further what you take Larry's point to me.
Oh, well, how did
he's
the guys
head
talk
coach
about
of
him?
the, He's
Yeah.
the head coach of the offense. Like Nick Sirianni is the head coach of the football team, and he's taken a step back from majority of the offense,
Do you
right?
think that people are going to articulate that as players?
Well, maybe. I think we'd
don't
like them
believe
to.
I don't believe they will.
I think they probably made it clear in OTAs.
Well, I think there's a lot of excitement to watch Kellen Moore's offense. I think they're going to be very careful with how they word this thing.
Yeah, probably.
Because Nick's got the majority of players in that locker room. Nick has their back at all times. I believe we're going to see a team that has Nick Sirianni's back.
But at the same time, like, listen, you like your son Cooper plays with his toys, but when he gets a new one, he likes to play with that one the
Damn
most,
right he does,
Like,
yeah.
listen, they can like Nick Sirianni, but I want to hear them talk about how awesome Kellen Moore's offense is, how great he's doing of implementing
and they
it.
already have. Devontae Smith did.
Yes.
Remember he talked glowingly about motion? And I'm
Very
like,
much so.
Did Nick Sirianni hear that and go, yeah, I get it, dude. I was the only guy that didn't want to do motion the entire NFL last year, which was ridiculous. But players kind of already did speak glowingly of him. There will be more of it. Something that I am interested in
Is
I remember preseason number 1 with Nick Sirianni. And 2 and 3.
okay.
How hands-on he was with individual drills when it came to the offense.
Yes.
Is he a little hands-off when it comes to drills? Is Kellen Moore the guy that if somebody makes a mistake, Kellen Moore's the guy that's going to tear into a little bit?
Well, do you remember I don't know if you watched how much you watched of the Dolphins last year on the Hard Knocks in season.
Not much.
Okay. Mike McDaniel literally tried to walk in once to a defensive meeting,
Yeah.
and Vic Fangio literally was
Told him
like,
to leave.
sort of like, what are you doing here? Yeah. Like, and he sort of tried to joke it off, but it was, okay, go on. And he's like, uh-huh. And McDaniel sort of backs out of the room. Oh, okay. I don't think that you're going to see much of, I'm a defensive back. I'm a wide receiver. I can coach these guys. I don't think you're going to see a lot of that hands-on stuff.
Well, what about offense?
On offense?
That was my question.
I don't know. But he was actually got involved with defensive drills in previous years. I can't wait to see it all unfold.
Absolutely.
And I'm rooting for Nick to handle it well. I think he's going to.
I think
he's
will.
going to, too.
Look, he knows the deal, dude. Like, as much as I rip Nick Sirianni and question the decision to bring him back, he knows the deal. Like, he knows that there were questions about bringing him back. He knows
This
that
has to be a quiet camp.
It took 8 days for the Eagles to basically announce that he was remaining as the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. He gets the deal. He knows the pressure that's on him, whether they won the Super Bowl 2 years ago or not. There's pressure in Philadelphia. There's pressure with Nick Sirianni.
This has to be a quiet camp, right?
I guess.
Like, we don't want if there's negative storylines coming out of the beginning of this camp, it's going to bode poorly for this season.
Well, yeah, but it could be loud in a positive way. There's a lot of stuff
Right.
that changed. You could hear a lot of these guys evaluating
not a
their new
bad point.
coordinators.
Not a bad point.
I'd like it to be a little bit more of a talkative camp in a positive way.
In a positive way.
The thing
right.
with Nick Sirianni, the knowledge, the football knowledge we all question. The attitude, I don't think has ever been. Like, I know the sideline stuff we've brought up.
I don't like
But
it.
accepting of the position he has on the team has never been a problem for Nick Sirianni.
Right. No, he's always been great during camp.
Right.
The question will be, is it falling on deaf ears or not? Which it seemed like last year it did toward the second half of that season. All those motivational videos that he would show to the guys. Like, after a while, your voice might run thin. And hopefully it's not completely gone.
No, I
don't think it will be.
I think these guys still have a ton of respect for Nick Sirianni. I believe the respect is there. And again, hearing A.J. Brown speak of him, hearing Devontae Smith speak of him, I think it bodes very well for what we're going to see this year.
Absolutely. All right, so on ESPN.com, Tim McManus, who does a tremendous job. You obviously always hear him on the station with the best show ever. I always love talking to him during pregame shows. So he wrote an article about a couple of topics heading into 2024 training camp for the Eagles. The topics were the biggest question, the most compelling position battle, the most impactful offseason addition, and the player with the most to prove. I will ask you guys what you believe the biggest question is. Again, today's a show of positivity, but what do you believe is the biggest question heading into 2024? I'll ask you, John, I'll ask you, Connor, and then I'll tell you what Tim McManus writes.
The learning curve for the defense. Biggest question. Is that, if you want me to get specific, linebacker and how that's going to shake out.
Okay. Connor?
That's where I'd go as well. The second level of the defense, do you have enough talent in the linebacking core?
Okay. Tim McManus's answer? Connor, you're going to hate it because you've been trying to tell us to get over it. Have the cracks been repaired following a late season collapse?
Well, what does Tim McManus know?
That's damn Tim McManus.
Man, okay.
Okay, so interesting.
So he writes about the 10-1 start, the 1-6 implosion down the stretch. He mentions dysfunction when Sean Desai was demoted in favor of Matt Patricia. He mentions his story that he wrote the day of the Eagles-Buccaneers game.
Which got a lot of negative thrown on him.
Yeah, because Tim McManus is supposed to be a fan, according to people. Jalen Hurts not agreeing with Nick Sirianni's offense. But I want to read you this paragraph. Sirianni was retained but finds himself squarely on the hot seat and with less influence on offense. Kellen Moore, who replaced Brian Johnson, is now at the controls, while Vic Fangio was brought in to stabilize the defense. Players are optimistic about the direction Moore and Fangio have taken their respective sides of the ball. It generally takes time for new schemes to take hold, but the Eagles will be anxious to speed up that timeline as they set out to prove that the issue from a year ago are behind them. And that's why I said to you, it's funny, I didn't read that blurb till just now, live on the air. I love that they're doing a more old school approach because I'd rather come out the gate clicking and not allowing us to question certain things. And I think an old school camp where they actually practice helps that.
Like, keep hearing the old school approach from everybody. It's one more Dork Boy yesterday was looking at the schedule from this year compared to last year. It's one more practice.
But it might not be 45 minutes.
Okay.
It might not be a walkthrough for 30 of the 45 minutes.
Okay.
Like, I don't think some of those guys sweat.
I'll wait and see it. And I want to hear more that the teaching. I believe the teaching is going to occur on the field, not in the classroom, because the classroom teaching really didn't hold last year.
Right? No, absolutely
It didn't.
And I'm excited to see it.
Yes.
Look, it might not play out well.
I think it's going to play out.
I think it will.
Camp should play out.
Right?
Well.
It should. All right. The most compelling position battle. What is your answer, John?
Compelling position battle is for the starting corner position opposite Darius Slay.
Connor?
I think this is a layup. Right guard. It's got to be.
That's where I am. But Tim McManus is where John is.
Oh, interesting.
The starting corner
Well, Tim McManus is very
opposite of
smart,
Darius
Connor.
Slay. Yes, he is.
I think that's more. How about this? I think it's more of a concern to me, the answer to my question over yours.
Yeah.
It's a much bigger concern to me.
I don't disagree with that.
I think there's a lot more. I think I'm gonna be happy with whatever we have at right guard.
You know what?
And I think there's going to be.
I
something.
disagree with you.
Okay, tell me why.
Because I see upside with your position battle. As much as I like.
Okay.
I like the addition of Mekhi Becton.
So you're talking about ceiling.
Yeah. Like Mekhi Becton is, I don't want to call him a bust, but a underperformed first-round pick that's not even playing.
If he was an Eagle, we would have called him a bust.
Right.
So I don't think he's not a bust.
And he was drafted as a tackle. He's now competing for guard here.
Right.
And Tyler Steen, who I like the selection of, they didn't even dress him in a game when you knew you were going to take out your starting offensive line.
I believe that was an error. I don't believe that was a punishment.
Okay, then it was a dumb error, and that's another reason why.
I believe it was an error.
I don't know how you didn't dress Tyler Steen. Jason Kelce had to go back into a game that they were getting spanked in and guys were getting hurt in. Like, that's horrible.
Yeah, it's horrible. That was a really, really dumb decision.
But I'm more excited for your battle. I'm just more intrigued by mine with right guard because, I
also think it's closer. Like, I really think Quinyon Mitchell's your starting outside
They
corner.
love Keely Ringo, man.
They do love Keely Ringo.
And we don't bring up Isaiah Rodgers like that often.
I don't think Isaiah
that's
Rodgers
fair.
is competing to be a starter. I don't
know.
think Isaiah Rodgers is. I'm going to be shocked if the storyline coming out of camp is Isaiah Rodgers is pushing for a starting position. I don't believe from everything I've read and seen that he's that kind of talent yet, but maybe he'll surprise us.
So
there's so many interesting, intriguing spots.
Absolutely. What Tim wrote, he said back in OTAs, Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean were making a push for cornerback twos during during OTAs and will during training camp. Players like Keely Ringo and veteran Isaiah Rodgers will be competing for the starting job.
There you go.
So it might not be Quinyon Mitchell, even though I want it to be because I want this youth movement. By the way, he also mentions James Bradbury and a move to safety.
Well, when you talk about Isaiah Rodgers, you talk about Quinyon Mitchell, and then you talk about, it's going to be a Keely Ringo. That's all youth movement. Like,
yes,
we
it
want
is.
the youth movement.
Right.
It's pretty much, Isaiah Rodgers not ultra young, but it's a very young
He is
secondary.
young. Yeah, he's young.
I'm very excited by if they hit on 2 out of 4 of these guys, 2 out of 3 of these guys.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to be set for years to come.
Especially later round picks,
Absolutely.
too.
Rodgers
Other than Quinyon
26,
Mitchell.
by the way.
Oh, he is.
Okay.
I was thinking a little younger, but that's all right.
But he's got fresh legs. He didn't play
fresh-
last year.
Yeah,
Connor.
exactly.
So he's got the legs of a 25-year-old.
He didn't play
not,
last year.
I'm not going to bet against him, and I don't think he would either.
The most impactful offseason addition. Connor, I'll start with you this time.
Give me Chauncey Gardner-Johnson.
I think Connor Thomas, don't cut this up. I think Connor Thomas is smart.
I'm having a great week.
I absolutely think that is the biggest offseason addition.
The first sentence says a case could be made for safety Chauncey Gardner-Johnson.
He's going to say Saquon?
He's going to say
Come
Saquon.
on, man. Why? The Eagles have had no problem running the football 3 years under Nick Sirianni.
My issue isn't with Tim. I just want to be right.
Offense has never been a problem. Running game has never been a problem under Nick Sirianni.
Well,
It's a luxury item to have brought in one of the better running backs in the NFL.
I think a luxury item, in my opinion, again, I'll read the blurb.
Okay.
In my opinion, a luxury item that makes Jalen Hurts' life easier and hopefully less stress on certain body parts like the knee that clearly hampered him last year. When Saquon Barkley got signed, my initial reaction, I was doing midday still with Tom. Tom Alvord was producing that day. My initial reaction wasn't, oh my God, this is going to be the best running back ever in Eagles franchise history. My first reaction was 2. 1, no excuses for Jalen Hurts now. Like, literally no excuses. You have 2 top 10 wide receivers, arguably top 10 wide receivers, a top 10 tight end, and a top 10 running back. So no excuse for Jalen Hurts. The other thing was, wow, his life should be easier. There should not be tush pushes every time it's third and short, fourth and short, goal line. You can hand the football off to Saquon
I'd like
Barkley.
to see a third of the tush pushes that we saw last year.
Yeah.
Because I want to see the passing game be more dynamic in the red zone. And with Kellen Moore, I know that should be the case.
But I do agree with you that Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is a great answer. He writes this about Barkley. Given that Barkley has never been surrounded by this many good players or operated behind an offensive line of this caliber, his time in Philadelphia is dripping with possibility. I love that. It's a great line. Dripping with possibility. All right, last one. The player with the most to prove, Connor?
Well, does he go chalk and go with Jalen Hurts?
No. I'm going with another one.
Okay.
Jordan Davis.
That is correct. Well,
did you read the article?
No, I didn't. I swear to you, I did not.
I shouldn't say that's correct. You agree.
No, I agree with Tim McManus. I think Jordan Davis. Well, first off, I'm a big year 3 guy that Andrew brought up earlier.
Yep.
I am also a huge supporter of Jordan Davis, but I am also a believer that you can't crap out after Thanksgiving dinner.
Right.
You just can't.
What do you mean? I
too
do it
much
every year.
Too much tryptophan, man.
Like you can't. Every year, like the SEC title games that first weekend in December, his season can't end there.
Right.
And unfortunately, 2 years in, he's in better physical condition. That doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to be able to, in game condition, be better.
Absolutely.
He looks good at the beach.
He does. He does.
Connor's looking at his thighs.
Got to give him credit. He also mentions Cam Jurgens as a strong candidate, which I want to talk about more coming up next. Because that is something that I think we should all keep a close eye on. Expectations for Cam Jurgens. Let's talk about that coming up next. We want more of your answers on what you're most excited about heading into Eagles camp in 2024. Also, we'll hear more from Paul George later on this hour as he talks about his time here with the Sixers that he's excited for and some of his great teammates. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5, The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports.
Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. Going to check your text messages coming up in a little bit, and I want to talk about Cam Jurgens. But real quick, we got a lot still to come on the show today. Adam Schefter, as he does every single Wednesday, will be joining us at 8 o'clock. So we have our Wednesday conversation with Shefty.
Team Shefty, Connor. He says he's Team Shefty. What
Oh, big time.
Oh, I love it. I'm a Team Shefty guy. Shefty will join us at 8 o'clock, and then we'll have today's headlines with Connor Thomas right after that around 8:15. And then at 9 o'clock, Nick Sirianni has his first press conference of training camp. Originally, it was scheduled for 9:30 if you've been following that along at home, but it got moved up to 9 o'clock, which means 9:10. But we'll get to it whenever it comes on, and we're going to have a little extended 9 o'clock hour.
Wow.
We changed some things up, so we have some extra time to have some more Eagles talk in reaction to what Nick Sirianni has to say during his first press conference of training camp. We'll get into that a little bit more later on in the show about what we want to hear from Nick Sirianni. But, yeah, still a lot to come on Kincade and Salciunas today, and we thank you for being a part of it. You can text the show, call the show, 610-632-0975. We'll get to your text about the thing you're most excited to follow along during training camp, and I'd be curious to see if anybody answers with Cam Jurgens. So let's talk about Jurgens real quick.
I'm fascinated by this discussion.
So here's a guy who was drafted 3 years ago to be the replacement of Jason Kelce, right?
Correct.
As was Landon Dickerson, as was Isaac Seumalo. Remember, all three of those guys were one day going to replace Jason Kelce. Isaac Seumalo got paid, is no longer here. He's a right guard elsewhere in the NFL.
I think Jurgens is the guy, though, that was...
He was the hand-picked guy from Jason Kelce.
He was the hand-picked guy that Jason Kelce won.
I also think Jason Kelce maybe would have retired 2 years after the Super Bowl had they won. They didn't win. He came back. So Jurgens all of a sudden plays right guard last season because I think they wanted to get him on the field.
Yes.
Because they drafted him in the second round and he had yet to play. And they needed a right guard, so they played him. And I thought he did an okay job. I don't think he was stellar. I don't think he came close to any all-pro consideration. But I thought he was fine at right guard for an unnatural position.
All right. That's like very soft praise. I never saw him anything but promising.
Okay.
Like
I'm giving him credit for playing in a position he wasn't drafted
like
for.
Soft praise. I never remember coming in and going, man, Jurgens is a problem.
I just thought he was okay.
Exactly.
I didn't think he was a problem.
But
I never said he was a problem.
We got to remember, when you watch Jason Kelce, you see a center pulling, getting 15 yards downfield, cleaning a linebacker's clock.
Now, is Cam Jurgens going to do that this year?
Exactly. That's the question.
I loved the draft pick. When they selected him at the time, it was between him and, I forget his name, he was a center out of Iowa. What a cool name. And he did a lot of the things that Jason Kelce did. I really like this selection for Cam
Well, there was
Jurgens.
also the guy out of Oregon.
Yeah, there was
another one.
There are options. But this was the guy that Jason Kelce handpicked. He has now had an entire offseason knowing that he's going to be the center of this football team. I talk about Ranger Suarez. He had an entire spring training knowing that he was going to be a starter of this team. He had no visa issues, all this kind of stuff, right? And look at what Ranger Suarez has been able to do up until this point. I think Cam Jurgens is going to be all right. I don't want to say they're going to not miss a beat because Jason Kelce's literally going to Canton, right? There's going to be a drop-off. I don't think we're going to be rolling our eyes at Cam Jurgens that much this year.
I didn't last year. So I do not believe this is going to be an issue. And again, I would say is that if you went around football and you just went around, I said it before, if Haley was on the street and we asked 100 guys in Philadelphia, she just walks around and says, name me 2 centers in the NFL that are not Eagles.
Right.
I don't believe that we would have 5 guys who could name 2 centers.
We get more Joel Embiid answers than we would of actual football players.
But
I think we would. So I don't understand why, to me.
But this city knows their center. This city knows their offensive line. There's literally a thing called Stoutland University. We obsess over the offensive line because the Eagles obsess over it, right? They build through the trenches, right? It's been this way. My entire life has been building through the trenches. And I'm expecting good things out of Cam Jurgens
So
this
am
year.
I honestly, I don't even think, I don't even give Cam Jurgens replacing Jason Kelce a thought.
Well, you should
now,
think of it. You should think about it.
I should, but I don't.
Okay.
Because I don't think that it's going to be as big a deal as Eagle fans probably think it's going to be. The center position in the NFL is not as big a deal. It's not discussed.
You can't say it's not a big deal.
Okay, the center position is not discussed. I would tell you is not discussed in most NFL cities. Is any time spent on sports talk radio talking about, is the center going to be a big problem this year? Is the center going to be good this year? We've been freaking spoiled.
Yeah.
And that's it. I don't believe there's going to be, I don't believe the naked eye is going to create a lot of drop off for the Eagles.
Okay.
Let's put it that way.
And I'm excited. And I don't disagree with you.
And I know that you're not poo-pooing what the guy is. I think I don't think it's going to be an issue. I don't think centers tend to be that big an issue in the NFL.
Okay. But we also saw what Jason Kelce was able to do. As Connor just mentioned, the blocks that he made on the second level. I mean, how many times did we see DeAndre Swift, Miles Sanders, Jay Ajayi? You know, you give me any running back that Jason Kelce blocked for in the second level. I mean, there's a highlight reel of Jason Kelce blocks.
I got you.
Like, what center has a highlight reel?
Right, I get what John's saying, and I think it's like we recognize it, we realize it when it happens, but we're not going to realize when it doesn't.
Yeah, when it doesn't.
Right.
I just think that this offense is going to clearly be. I would expect nothing less. I said it yesterday. I think it'll be above 28 points a game. And I don't think anyone's going to be going, man, they're really missing Kelce.
Also, let's hope that Saquon Barkley doesn't need a block in the second level.
Right.
That dude's a monster.
That's true.
That's another
you
good
may
one,
not need
Connor.
it.
Good one.
By the way, it was Tyler Linderbaum was the name I was trying to say.
Linderbaum.
First round pick for the Ravens. Like, he's
And if
good.
the Ravens picked him.
He's good. He's a good center. All right, what do we have on the text line, Connor?
So we have a question here from Jamal in West Philly.
Right.
And he says, how excited am I for the upcoming Eagle season and training camp? Is it too early to start tailgating for week 2 against Atlanta, the home opener now?
Have a beer right now. Go for it. Like, as long as you're not operating heavy machinery or you're on the job, have a beer.
So he's
start tailgating, man.
He's obviously fired up. And Jay from Westchester is as well. He says, dude, we got Saquon Barkley. We locked down Devontae and AJ. We got the hand-picked Cam Jurgens at center. Our favorite guy, Landon Dickerson, is sliding down water slides at his crib. Like, the vibes are high going into training camp. And I'm excited about watching a younger and more talented defense.
I think that's what a lot of us are excited for. Like,
more talented. Yes.
Not most talented, but more talented.
I love watching. I enjoy, like, and I don't know, you and I have never been around each other really during these type of things. I love a rebuild, watching a team come together where there's no expectations. The Eagles are rebuilding a Super Bowl team
with expectations.
It's different watching this. If the Eagles if the Eagles were 4-11, 4-12 or whatever, 4-13 last year, I would look at this as I'd be watching this defense with a totally different eye.
Oh yeah,
I'd be totally pumped to see how it all comes together.
When Doug and Carson got here, I was totally fine with them finishing 7-9.
That first year, 7-9, I was ready to have a parade.
Yeah, you looked at the exciting
excited.
things. Now that's where this will get tricky. Like you said, they're a team with Super Bowl expectations and a rebuild.
Yeah.
I think back to our conversation with Andrew DeCecco 2 Thursdays ago. He joins us every single Thursday, and how he tried to preach patience with the offense. I don't think people are going to be patient this year. I know there are a lot of people that make excuses for Jalen Hurts. I get it because people love Jalen Hurts. I don't know how long the leash is.
Yeah, but that you don't preach to people who already know the sermon. Like, you're trying to bring people to the light. And that's what Andrew DeCecco is trying to do. It's what I've been trying to do.
You think that's the light?
Yes.
Dude,
I don't. I'm
good
telling
luck,
you,
man.
Yeah.
Good luck.
I'm telling you,
you guys are doing it too.
I'm sitting in. I am an absolute contributor, and right in my pew every week for Andrew DeCecco's sermons.
Yes.
But I think this is the most misguided thing that he said is an entire time as a part of our family here.
They have the most talented, arguably most talented skill players in the entire NFL.
And I've made the case. It's documented. There's no ramp-up period. Kellen Moore's offenses with two other quarterbacks have not needed this. Let's tamper expectations. Let's tamp it down a bit because it's going to take a time.
Yep.
It doesn't take time. His quarterbacks are shot out of a freaking cannon.
I got you. Listen, I'm not saying it. Andrew DeCecco's not saying it. The only that guy I've heard say it is Kevin Cooney, that the slow start could be coming. Like, they should still win these football
Kevin
games.
Cooney thinks it might snow today. I mean, let's be honest. Cooney will be out at the Mishkov press conference.
You know what I want to see the Eagles do? I'm going to go in week 1.
Okay.
Nah, it's tough. It's going to be in Brazil. I want it to be like the 2021 Eagles that barely made it into the playoffs, but when they spanked the Falcons 32-6.
Oh, that was fun.
And Jalen Hurts threw for 264 yards and 3 touchdowns, and Miles Sanders rushed for 74, and Jalen Hurts rushed for 62, and Kenneth Gainwell rushed for 37. But replace Miles Sanders' name with Saquon Barkley. Replace Jalen Reagor's 6 for 49 and a touchdown with A.J. Brown's 10 for 110 and a touchdown.
And wasn't it the first touchdown? What first reception by Devontae was a touchdown,
yes,
I believe.
It was.
And it was at the same spot that he won the national title?
Yeah, like replace some of these names and maybe score more than 32. I don't care. Go
That'd be
for it.
fine.
Go for 40. No excuses. No patience. All right? I'm
glad we're being realistic.
I'm a very patient man. But when it comes to this Eagles offense, there will be none of it.
We're not patient, DeCecco.
All right, coming up next, we get to more of your text reaction. Also, Paul George spoke to the media yesterday and was also on the best show ever. He talked about his new star teammate in Joel Embiid. You're going to want to hear what he has to say about that.
It's going to get you fired up.
Damn right. All these will. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic on day one of training camp. It's been a lot of fun so far talking Eagles all day today. We will continue the Eagles conversation as the show goes on. Again, Adam Schefter will be joining us at 8 o'clock. You do not want to miss that. Can't wait to talk to Shefty. Can't wait to get some more of your text messages. But real quick, as yesterday was a big day on the station because Paul George had his introductory press conference, which you heard live during the midday show. He then joined the best show ever. Tyrese Maxey was on with the midday show. Daryl Morey, Nick Nurse were on with the midday show. Not press conferences, but interviews. So you can check them all out on 975thefanatic.com. But yesterday, Paul George, when he was doing his press conference, was obviously asked about Joel Embiid because that's, I'm sure, a big part of why anybody would want to come to the Philadelphia 76ers.
It's huge.
Here he is talking about Joel Embiid and how he compares him to other stars that he's played with. And let's face it, Paul George has played with a lot of them.
I mean, Joel's just a hard worker. I've played with them all, from, Russ, Kawhi. They all have the same intangibles, and that's super competitive, want to win against all odds, and work extremely hard. And so I see that same quality in Joel, which makes me excited to be alongside him out there. Played through injuries. He wanted to be on the floor, playing hard and working hard. When it's compared to other, stars that I play with, Joel has those same qualities that you look for.
First off, he didn't mention Harden during the.
You shocked?
I played with guys that work hard and play hard.
You shocked?
But I love hearing that. And you know what's cool? And look, I get it. He's his new teammate, so he's going to speak glowingly of him.
Playing him up.
But he's talking about Joel Embiid basically from afar. He hasn't played with him yet. But he's talking about him from afar, and he noticed these intangibles of Joel Embiid. The way a lot of people talk about Joel Embiid from afar is normally negatively. Not here. I'm saying, league-wide. People rip Joel Embiid all the time.
I think negatively here, too, in a lot of people.
Well, you know how
Sure.
I feel. I say he's the most disrespected athlete in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
But it's cool to hear Paul George come in and say how hard of a worker he is and how much he admires his ability to not just play basketball, but to play through the pain that he's gone through.
I would say, where has he observed him as a hard worker?
I would imagine, knowing that he's played through all those injuries, he's worked hard.
No. I'm not questioning that he's to me, I think there's a difference between hard worker and playing through injuries.
Well, the offseason, I'm sure they've done some stuff.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Those guys get together all the time.
It doesn't sound like it from the talk. It sounds like they've only interacted at All-Star games.
Well, if he's saying, he's my secret All-Star, best friend, they probably, these guys all go out to L.A. and run open gym all the time. I'm sure we'll find videos somewhere of Paul George and Joel Embiid in some pickup game somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, it's I loved hearing the enthusiasm for. I think Paul George handled his debut fantastically. I put too much into press conferences and stuff.
Do you?
So I try to. Take that into consideration because I was fanboying a bit yesterday, hearing his answers and hearing his enthusiasm for it, and hearing his admiration for what this lineup is. I loved hearing him. I loved. He sounded very selfless yesterday.
He did. Oh, dude.
Didn't he?
His press conferences and his podcast and everything since he signed with the Sixers, that dude's hit a home run.
Well, he's going to be if he wants to be, he's going to be a great media member when he's done.
Yeah, he could be.
Because he is really, he is really thoughtful. He's a thoughtful speaker.
Absolutely.
And I really enjoyed hearing that.
I will say it's easy to sound good in July.
No question.
I trust that this is the guy he is, the teammate he is, but it's easy to sound good in July.
I put too much into these, as you well know, Connor, is that when I hear this stuff, I can get swung probably too far than I should be.
But you're not wrong. It has been all the right things said by Paul George.
Yes. I mean, there was a couple. He said a couple things yesterday that rubbed me a little bit. I was like, when he was like, well, it was Philly all along.
Well, yeah.
He said, and I'm like, BS. You know it wasn't. We know that was not the case. If L.A. had given him 4 years, he was in L.A. I think that there were a few things that were a little bit side-eyed on. But overall, he was exceptional.
I think he said so many great things.
Oh, my gosh. It was fantastic. And it's so positive for this upcoming season.
Yeah,
so
absolutely,
many exciting
man.
things.
I can't wait for this year. It's going to be great. But We got Eagles business to attend to first, and we still have a Phillies team that we should talk about every once in a while. But, Connor, what do we have on the text line about our topic today, about what you are most excited about to pay attention to follow along during training camp for the Philadelphia Eagles, which begins today?
I have a check-in here on a follow-up on that Cam Jurgens conversation.
Okay.
So no name on this one, but the texter says, I'm a Seahawks fan. We've been looking for a center since we traded Max Unger 14 years ago. I disagree that they don't matter.
Centers matter.
I didn't say that. You're arguing something I didn't say.
You're saying
I did not say the centers don't matter. So, I mean, like, let's argue what was said. The average football fan can't tell you two centers' names in the NFL.
Cam Jurgens, Mac Unger.
Is that yeah.
Nailed
There's
it.
Cannot do it. On the streets, just say, hey, it is over. It's overhyped because we knew our center.
okay, but we know our center is Canton bound.
He is.
So can our new center in Cam Jurgens slide right in and almost make you feel like you didn't miss a beat?
You don't need a center to be Canton bound to have an exceptional offense, to have a team that is going to meet all expectations.
I also don't want a guy that I'm saying that he will be, that could be in over his head because he's replacing a legend. Like, let's face it, he's replacing not just a legend on the football field.
If you're looking for look, Jason Kelce didn't give you Jason Kelce highlights till his fourth year in the NFL.
Right.
Starting at center.
Yep.
So, I mean, let's handle this properly. I'm not expecting that this year Cam Jurgens can come in and be giving us highlights that Jason Kelce didn't give us till he was at least a 4-year professional.
So we're now preaching patience.
No, it has
exactly.
to be. Hey, were we patient with Brandon Graham? No. Were we patient with Jason Kelce? We were. Why? Because no one knew what the hell it was. And Jason Kelce was good in his first few years. He was good. Stepped in immediately and was good. But we weren't getting the highlight tapes. They weren't spending games going, here's the highlights of Jason Kelce. That's been the last 4 or 5 years.
Okay. What else do we have on the text line, Connor?
We also have a check-in here from VT Ron, who says he's really, really anxious to see how this new defense shapes up during camp and really excited that we'll get a change from last year and they'll be much better as a unit.
Damn right, Ronnie. I think so, too. I think they are going to be much better. I think both sides of the ball will be much better.
So you're saying improvement on both sides. And you say much.
Well, much better.
Because that offense wasn't terrible last year. I mean, this offense is much better.
I tested looked really bad.
Okay,
at times.
The only thing I care about is results and points. Honestly, what kind of points are you producing? They were what last year? 8th?
Well, I don't know, man.
Yeah, but
if you watch a team and there's a blown coverage that you score 7 points from, but you're still running a stale offense and have no idea.
And results and points led you to a 10-1 record, but those results and points also led to a 1-6 collapse where the offense didn't show up in four of those games.
Did you put the collapse? If I asked you on a scale, 0 to 100, like percentage to defense, percentage to offense, I put that collapse on the last year's team at probably 75% defense.
I've given you my answer.
What do you say?
None of them. There's the whole freaking team off.
I put 75% defense, 25% offense.
I put majority of blame on drama.
They scored enough points to win multiple games that they lost.
Yeah, except for Seattle.
What a
that was horrible.
Seattle's an ugly night. That was an ugly night.
I think the collapse had nothing to do with talent.
Right.
I think it had to do with a lot of other stuff that I hope and believe will be squashed as training camp begins today. Coming up next, always love our conversations with Schefty. Adam Schefter joins to kick off the 8 o'clock hour, followed by today's headlines with Connor Thomas. A whole lot more for you today on Kincade Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
this Wednesday morning. I hope you have a safe trip into work today. We have Adam Schefter joining us momentarily as today is day one of training camp for the Philadelphia Eagles. Just so fired up today, and that's why today's been a day of excitement. That's why today's been a day of positivity. That's why today we have very, very rarely brought up any sort of concerns or questions because it's a new book, right? New chapter, whatever you want to call it.
You and the books, your Harry Potter
Yeah,
stuff.
man. Look, it's day one of a new season where we have high expectations, and that's my biggest thing. Like, with all the questions and concerns that we do have, because let's face it, there are legitimate questions. There are legitimate concerns for the 2024 Philadelphia Eagles coming off of the collapse that we saw last year.
And we all have different ones.
We all have
That's
different
what we
ones.
keep finding is that we all have different issues.
But bottom line, we all have high expectations.
Yes.
We have there has not been a single caller or host except for Kevin Cooney that has them winning, less than double-digit games, and he still hasn't won in 10 games.
Kevin Cooney's going to ask Matvei Mishkov today if he thinks life will be better here in the United States than in Russia.
Well,
I mean, it's like there could be. Sometimes Kevin can, skew a little bit.
but here's the thing. He still has them at 10 wins despite a slow start. So, everybody, regardless of questions and concerns, we have high expectations for this Eagles team this season, and that's why today's been a day filled with excitement and more positive vibes than what we've been accustomed to the last couple of weeks getting ready for training camp. Let's head to the Comcast Business Hotline, where every day business is a big day. Let Comcast Business get you ready for what's next. He is brought to us by Landis Block. Create your very own jaw-dropping backyard paradise online at landisbc.com. From ESPN, the great Adam Schefter joins us. Shefty, happy training camp day in Philadelphia.
Andrew, John, happy New Year to everybody there.
It is a very exciting time. We've been focusing on being positive today. We're focusing on what you told me to do a couple of weeks ago to move forward and ignore the past, even though there are still some things that I will keep an eye on.
He's sort of good at it, not great at it, Andy.
Today's the day, Adam, where I'm ready to talk about the high expectations and why we have high expectations, because this Eagles team should be good.
Should be really good. There's no reason it shouldn't be. It's the best team in the division, for whatever that's worth. They have had the kind of offseason that you would hope that your team have. They've made basically all the right moves in my mind. And now you take your chances and you see if the team can come together and perform better than it did last year. That's the whole key. Again, part of this will be Cam Jurgens replacing Jason Kelce at center. Let's see how that goes. We're going to need some production from all sorts of players on the defensive side, whether that's Milton Williams or Chauncey Gardner-Johnson or whoever it may be, Isaiah Rodgers playing cornerback. Somebody's going to have to come through and step up, but there's no reason this team shouldn't win. There's no reason this team shouldn't be in contention. There's no reason this team shouldn't make a run. But it's easy to say that. It's another thing to actually do it.
All right, give us this. All the training camps that you've observed and you've been a part of.
Yep.
What are things that matter that we're going to hear about, and what are things that don't matter?
I don't mean to oversimplify it. I always felt like this was the case. I always feel like injuries are the thing that matter the most in training camp, because you're never really going to know exactly how guys are or aren't coming together until the games begin. It's hard to measure that. Like, let's just say you're out there watching practice and the offense is humming every day and it looks like, the defense is playing well against the second team up. Like, it doesn't mean a lot to me. It just doesn't. Honestly, everybody's going to prep and get ready and get in condition for the season. But the second you start losing players to injury, especially important players, that's when I think some of the steam starts going out of teams, to me. I just think that's the most significant element of and it happens all the time. It just happens. Starter goes down. Oh, and then, the coach and it's up to the next man up. And and that's all that's true. But you can't be losing guys in training camp. Important guys. Can't happen.
Shefty.
And there's no way to control it.
Sure.
It does.
Absolutely. Now, I want to ask you, how should somebody balance, when it comes to the Philadelphia Eagles, high expectations and also patience, because two new coordinators, Kellen Moore, Vic Fangio. You mentioned new center in Cam Jurgens replacing a future Hall of Famer in Jason Kelce. There's a new look defense, a lot of new players on this defense, a lot of new starters on this defense. How do you handle high expectations? A lot of us have a floor of 12 wins while also trying to be patient with a new look team.
Yeah, by the way, it looks like at least half the defense is going to be new as starters, roughly. I mean, they could have like 6 new defensive starters. And you know what I say about patience and being a fan? Screw that. Like, I don't know. Who cares? Like, you're room for them to win. You know, as a fan, fans aren't patient. That's not what fans are supposed to be. You know, fans are supposed to be into it. And, like, you're not plotting out how to be, like, I'm going to pace myself and be patient with this team. Like, no, you're all in. You know, they're opening the season in Brazil against Green Bay. You know, get out your sombreros and start rooting for the Eagles. I mean, that's the deal. Like, you're not waiting to say, well, I know this defense is going to come together. I know the offense is going to come together. So I'm going to be a little understanding of this opening day loss. I don't think that's how fans think and operate.
We saw where two of the, different publications had the Eagles with the second-ranked roster, top to bottom talent-wise.
Uh-huh.
And though we're being very positive about what we expect of this Eagles team this year, we were very skeptical of their roster top to bottom being top 2. Do you see their roster as being as deep as others do?
I think they have a very strong roster. I think they've got question marks like other teams. I mean, there are some defensive question marks still here, you know, whether the corners can come through and the safeties can come through and they get the pass rush they need. Like, those are legitimate questions. Here's the thing. They're either going to start playing to their capabilities and winning, and you're going to say, look at how good and deep this team is. They'll lose a couple of people, and guys will step up, and they'll keep winning, because that's what the good teams do. And you'll say, look at this. They've got the depth to overcome it. Or they won't. And then you say they're not as deep as we thought. And only they can define it. And what really helps define that, and again, I don't mean to oversimplify it again, but when teams are winning, everything looks, feels, smells, and tastes better. Everything. You can make an argument that everybody's better than they actually are. When they're winning, that's how it feels. And when they're losing, it doesn't feel that way. It just doesn't. Nobody's getting done what they should. Everybody's under the microscope. Everybody's up to be criticized. Anybody's fair game. And, again, certain teams get it rolling, and they overcome all the nonsense and noise, and other teams just don't. And we've seen them both from the Eagles the last 2 years. So there's your proof and evidence right there. 2 years ago, they were deep. They were talented. They were tough. They were strong. They were all those things. Why were they? Because they were winning. The next year, there were some changes, absolutely. They lost Jonathan Gannon. Wasn't quite the same. But are you going to tell me that the drop-off is from being on the precipice of winning a world championship to basically being an awful football team in the second half of the... Like, it's that steep? Really? No. It's just that team from 2 years ago was strong enough, tough enough, adaptable and flexible enough to overcome anything that was coming its way. It believed in itself. It built confidence. It had momentum. All that went away last year for whatever reason. I don't mean to bring up last year, but it went away. And it never was recaptured. And so this team now has the opportunity to forge its own identity and its own path. And it's either going to play like the team from 22 or it's going to play like the team for 23. And you hope, if you're an Eagles fan, that it's 22. And you hope, if you're an Eagles fan, that 23 is in your rearview mirror and we're moving forward. And that's the way it's going to be. And they've made enough changes that it's been freshened up. There's a new aroma in town. There's a new look in town. There's a new feel in town. And they believe that that's going to be what propels this team forward. And now we'll find out if they're right.
We're speaking to Adam Schefter on the Comcast Business Hotline on day one of training camp for the Philadelphia Eagles. Schefter, it's one thing for radio hosts and fans to talk about what they're most excited for when it comes to training camp. Who in the Adam Schefter Rolodex of Eagles, Eagles land, who are the team most excited about to see come to training camp, whether it's an off-season addition or maybe a player that was motivated during the off-season to try to uplift their play in another year of the NFL?
Andrew, I don't approach training camp like that. You know, I'm approaching it from an entirely different perspective. You're asking that as a fan question, and I have a job, and a job is all that really matters to me in this particular case.
Right.
So I'm looking at it like, okay, who's getting extended? Who's getting hurt? Who's getting traded? What teams are looking for what players? What guys might not make the – like, I'm thinking of it in terms of stories. So, you know, it doesn't matter to me that Saquon Barkley is playing – to the Eagles and making his debut. It doesn't matter that Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is back or that they're going to need Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis to step up and Cam Jurgens to step. Like all the storylines that everybody thought who's going to win the number 3 wide receiver. Is it Paris Campbell? Is it somebody else? You know, does Johnny Wilson take the step up? There's a slew of questions, but I'm not focused in on watching a guy. I'm more focused in on the issues and how they would impact my job. If there would be something that I'd be talking about on NFL Live or Sunday Countdown or anything like that.
Give us the inside skinny on what you're hearing about the Hassan Reddick situation and how good does Howie Roseman look now?
Well, look, the Jets made the trade initially thinking that Hassan Reddick was okay with coming in and not having his contract extended. That was why they initially made the trade. And something somewhere along the way shifted in his thinking. We know that he wanted a new deal. I know that's obvious. But I'm telling you that when the Jets traded for him, they were of the belief that it was okay. It was enough for them to say to him, hey, we'd like to try to work out something eventually. I'm good with the way it is right now. And then he never shows up for the all-season program. Doesn't show up for the start of training camp, is a holdout right now. The Jets are in a tough spot. I think the Jets are going to have to figure out a way. It shouldn't be hard. Pay him. Like Amari Cooper wanted a deal. He had 1 year left. The Browns went to him, gave him $5 million incentives, guaranteed the $20 million that he was supposed to make this year. What does that matter anyway? Of course he's going to make the roster. So if you're the Jets, again, to me, I'm using a formula like that. Saying, okay, Hassan, here's the deal. We're going to give you right now $10 million in incentives, $5 million in money right now, $5 million more in incentives, and we'll guarantee the 14.5. Like something to that effect. I don't know what it is, but that's not hard. And you got to please the guy enough to get him in and have that take that issue off the table. So, it's not what they wanted. It's not what they needed. It's not how you want to start camp, but that's where they're at right now. And their problem is what the Eagles would have had to deal with if he had stayed. And it's obviously the reason that the Eagles moved on from the guy.
All right, last thing for you, Schefter. I don't know how much you can speak on the actual injury of Cooper DeJean, because it just came out last night that Cooper DeJean's going to miss the first 3 weeks of camp because of a non-football related injury. I don't know if you have any insight on that injury, but I want to ask you this. In all your years of covering the NFL, public, or maybe you can't even mention the player's name, the strangest injury that occurred right before the start of camp, because I'm sure this is the time when GMs and coaches are holding their breath because they don't want to hear of any injuries right before the start of a new season.
Pre-training injury.
Like we know what happened to Jason. We know what happened to Jason Pierre-Paul.
What was it? It was he stretched incorrectly or something. He was bent in a weird position.
It was an awkward position.
What we were told.
Yes.
That's a really weird thing. I've never heard that in all my years of doing this job.
I've never heard that either for hamstring injury. I remember back in the day in Denver, I remember 2 players tore their ACL skiing in the offseason. I remember that distinctly because I remember calling up and one of the guys being very upset that it was going to come out. Obviously, you're in violation of your contract, and they lost the starting offensive lineman. I remember a quarterback in Denver tearing his ACL on a pickup basketball game. They played, never really came back from it either. So I mean, but that's not strange. It just, to me, those are reminders. If I were in those situations and I were these guys and I was 25 and I had, a big NFL contract, I wouldn't be skiing. I wouldn't be playing pickup basketball.
Sure.
That's me. That's me. Like, the last time I played pickup basketball was in my late 20s. I got an elbow in the eye. I had to get stitches above my eye, and it was my left eye. And the next day I had to be on TV, and I was all bandaged up, and I said, I'm 28 years old. What am I doing? And that was the last time I ever played pickup basketball.
Whoa, Schefty. I'm 30. Connor is 29.
And they're cooked.
We play pickup every Wednesday night. So today's Wednesday. So if you are interested, come and join us.
I appreciate it. I am definitely not interested.
Good job.
Shefty, you're the man.
Shefty.
We appreciate it. We're excited for another fun-filled season of NFL football and Eagles football, and can't wait to talk to you every single week during it.
Thank you, buddy.
Happy New Year, guys. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. There he is, Adam Schefter from ESPN on the Comcast Business Hotline, and brought to us by Landis Block. Create your very own jaw-dropping backyard paradise online at landisbc.com. Denver, man, a tough spot.
Oh, yes.
Three starters, all off-season ACL injuries that had nothing to do with football.
Yeah, that's the idea I'm thinking too.
The first person I think of a strange injury is not football. Remember Madison Bumgarner was fixing his roof and fell through.
He fell off of his.
Yeah, he fell off his roof.
Zach Wheeler was taking his pants off and ripped his fingernail on the zipper. You remember that?
Yes, that's right.
I'm not telling you. Mike Hampton, when he was with the Braves, he slipped in the shower and was out for 2 months.
That's unbelievable.
How the hell does that happen?
Athletes are just like us.
Have you ever slipped in the shower and been injured so much that it took you out for 2 months?
No, but
I'm not a professional athlete.
Oh, come on now. You were never hurt that much slipping in a shower.
Well, if he fell on his pitching arm or pitching elbow, who knows?
Gosh.
I remember Mike Hampton. That guy could swing the stick a little bit, man.
He could, yeah.
All right, it's time now for today's headlines with Connor Thomas.
Today's headlines with Connor Thomas.
That was when pitchers could hit. What's up, Connor?
It was tough.
All right. That's
tougher
a tough
day.
act to follow. Let's lock it in. We got something very important to talk about, folks. We got a cheesesteak story. So I'm not sure if you guys saw this, but Ryan Howard has a new podcast, the 611 podcast. He had Jimmy Rollins on. He had CC Sabathia on. There are some great clips.
Is it? No, I think it's Howard and Jimmy. That's why.
Is it both of them?
Yeah, it's Howard and Jimmy.
That's why it's 611, 6 and 11. Come on, dude.
Just through the pen.
You want to start over?
Hey guys, welcome to today's.
Exactly.
Let's take because there's a great story between them and CC Sabathia, who obviously played against the Phillies in the 2008 NLDS as a member of the Milwaukee Brewers
and 09 World Series.
Exactly. They're talking about the cheesesteaks in the visiting clubhouse. Take a listen.
First of all, the visiting clubhouse has the best cheesesteaks in Philly. Period. I don't know if y'all know that.
No, we do.
But 1,000, hands down, that's the best cheesesteak
we did
in the city.
By the way, we couldn't get them on the home side. We'd have to sneak guys over hey, tell them we want a cheesesteak for Jimmy, Ryan, and Shane. We couldn't order. We couldn't get them.
No, they're the best.
For good reason.
Oh, no. Me, Prince, Corey Hart, we ordered so many cheesesteaks, bro. We couldn't even move. You can't move when you eat those things. When we came back the next year in 09,
I heard.
Joe took them out the clubhouse.
I heard.
Joe took them out the clubhouse.
So they must be filling cheesesteaks, is my guess.
No, we can find out the place where they come from, and I've heard it before. But I don't understand why they don't come from why the Phillies couldn't get anything.
Because they don't want to eat. They shouldn't eat cheesesteaks every single day.
No, but they couldn't get them on their side. No, I mean, I would think Bryce Harper can get whatever he wants.
I
would think Kyle Schwarber can get whatever he wants. I've never seen a clubhouse where baseball players can't get exactly what they want.
I don't know. Maybe not Schwarbs.
Players want Avion water, they can get it.
So I saw this clip yesterday, and my first thought, because of my sick, twisted mind, goes to gambling. So, the Guardians are the next team in town.
Okay.
Jose Ramirez is a tremendous player. He also looks like he can eat.
Oh, no.
Whatever. Jose Ramirez will be fine in game one of this series. If he has a cheesesteak, and I know how heavy those things can be, bet unders for Jose Ramirez in game two of the series.
Oh, okay. I love it.
I would say
any young player that's never really been here yet, he's only played 3 games at Citizens Bank Park. They go, oh man, this cheesesteak's good. Let me have a second one. They have a second one.
Then
all of a sudden they're a little full. Third. And then the next game, they don't play well. Jose Ramirez unders game 2 of this upcoming series against the Guardians.
Are you taking this story to the next level with number 21?
What do you mean?
Did you hear Joel Embiid? That the best cheesesteak in Philly is from Subway.
Yeah, I heard that.
I swear to you.
That's
That
Joel
is
Troel.
I'm not even touching that one.
That is horrendous.
That's Joel Troel. There's no way he actually
he's trolling.
feels that way. There's no way.
I do think now, though, that the Phillies won the 2008
With his conditioning
NLDS.
habits, it could very well.
John, with his potential advertising habits.
Oh.
Come on,
Hey, look
man.
at that.
Wait a minute.
Come on,
that's
man.
next level thinking. Yeah.
Come on,
and
man.
guess what? Nobody in Philly will accept that, appreciate it, or
No,
otherwise.
of course not. I don't know if Skechers are actually his favorite shoe, but he gets paid millions of dollars for them.
By the way, Shaq never drove a Buick.
See? That's what I'm
He
saying.
never drove a Buick in his freaking life.
Exactly. So I don't know if he actually feels that way. All right, what else, Connor?
No, that's our one story. We got to
got a break?
Yeah, dude, we're past it already.
All right, well,
talking about sponsorships in there.
then we'll continue our Eagles discussion next. I want you to hear some more Paul George audio because he was awesome yesterday. But I also have to tell you about a little programming note.
Oh, what?
Probably more so for middays.
What?
Tell you about it next. Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Michkov makes it to Philly. I'm Connor Thomas. This update is brought to you by Groundworks, your expert for basement waterproofing and foundation.
Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic. Want to thank Adam Schefter for joining us last segment.
He's contractually obligated to do so, but he really does enjoy it.
He does enjoy it. He's told us just off the record. Oh, I shouldn't say that. Off the record. But off the record, he's a big fan of joining the show.
Well, on the record, if he really liked us, he'd be playing pickup tonight.
No, he said he retired at 28.
No, he retired at 28.
It's not because he doesn't want to play with us.
Wish I could have retired at 28.
Nah, man, we're still moving forward,
Guess what?
man. We haven't hung him out up yet.
Talking about work.
I can promise you this: Schefter can retire at 57.
Yeah, he probably can. He probably can.
Yeah, he could.
He could. I'm disappointed. I talked to Connor while you were asking your next question. I think he misunderstood one of my questions. I was trying to find out. Go ahead. What do you think I was asking?
About when you're talking about how the replacement player, how much he'll be missed?
No, I was asking him from the Eagles' perspective, because he talks to these people behind the scenes. Who are the Eagles excited for in camp? Because there might be a guy like Jordan Davis who's worked his ass off.
Right.
That we just don't know enough of. Like, we will see it when they report to camp today if Jordan Davis looks like he's in even better shape. Maybe Cam Jurgens got stronger. Like, these guys know what they're doing in the offseason. Even though they can't be in contact with them, per se, you know that they know what they're doing during the offseason for the most part.
They do. I got to tell you this, though. And you know how a big supporter of Jordan Davis I am. Nothing I'm going to see in August is going to...
Of course.
Because the Jordan Davis question is in December.
Right.
And it almost seems unfair. He's put a lot of work into his body, and I think he's working. I think he is. He's doing all the things to try to change that narrative. That narrative can't be changed till after we've carved the Thanksgiving turkey.
Right. Absolutely.
And so I'll be waiting. That story is going to take longer for me. But I think they're enthused by what they've seen.
Right. And I don't want to speak for Adam Schefter, but I can think of an answer right away, and it's the PR tour that I hated. Nolan Smith.
Yep.
I remember Jalen-Hurts, there was a random tweet from Jeremy Fowler last year about how he was going to be more of a pocket passer, right? They must know what they want to do, and they must know who's already working hard. And if they're doing a PR tour for Nolan Smith when Hassan Reddick was on the trading block, they must think highly of Nolan Smith this year. I imagine that they're excited for him.
I think they are. Plus, they probably knew what kind of a
situation Reddick was.
Yeah. The JJ Reddick, JJ Reddick. Yes. Well, they have the same sort of personality.
Still hate him more. I hate him more than Hassan.
It's amazing. You have a big hate list.
I do, and we'll talk about that. The hate list always grows. It always does. All right, we'll get back to the text line in a second. You text the show 610-632-0975. But I do want to play some stuff from Paul George. Paul George was on with the best show ever yesterday. He also had his press conference. Let's play cut one from the press conference. I love this. Because he talks about the Sixers' legitimate shot to win a title.
Definitely look forward to coming to Philly. My family looked forward to it. We felt that this was the best next step in the phase of my career. I thought everything just aligned perfectly, where they're at and where they're trying to go and where I'm trying to get to as well. I think we got a real legitimate shot.
I think it does make sense because it's not like Paul George is coming to a team as the veteran with with two young second, third-year stars. Yes. Paul George is coming to a team where it's, all right, the clock is ticking on Joel Embiid. The clock is not ticking on Tyrese Maxey, but he is now a max contract player. Like, he's now a veteran in the NBA. It's not like Paul George is the 34-year-old that's coming to a team with a bunch of 22, 23-year-old players,
he's
right?
Not Tobias Harris going to Detroit.
Right. He's coming to a situation where it's, oh, yeah, this team wants to win, and they're veterans in the NBA.
I cringed a little bit when I heard this one, though.
Why?
It was the obvious best next step for his career.
It may be.
That wasn't how he handled it.
It may be the best next step for his career. He may wanted to have stayed in L.A. Was that best for his career where it looks like they're trying to almost blow it up a little bit out there?
Interesting way to look at it. I don't think he meant it that way. I think he meant it as, like, Philly was it.
Like, John, if I got offered a full-time hosting gig.
Nice money in Cleveland.
No, I mean, Cleveland's still a good sports town. I'm trying to think, like, Miami. I don't know.
Miami'd be pretty good life.
But it's no.
Connor would leave mid-show.
Well, no, but this is what I'm trying to say.
Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
But this is what no. What I'm trying to say is I don't know what this Miami sports talk scene is, right? I might get offered a nice, great gig in Miami. It might not be what's best for my career. What's best for my career is probably being in a major market like Philadelphia.
Okay.
That's what I'm trying to say. Paul George, I could live the limelife of Miami, but is it best for my career?
Paul George, I got you. That's sort of wordsmithing a little bit to me. But, I mean, he would have been in – if L.A. offered him 4, he's staying there. And if Golden State had gotten him that – and we've already heard that – he would have been there. If Golden State was willing to give what they needed to give to the Clippers, he would have been there. But his excitement for the situation here, I believe, is 100% genuine.
And I think
the situation he's walking into.
Absolutely. And
genuine.
you and I both wanted to play this clip because we both loved what he had to say, and it's putting the ego aside.
Yes.
And just doing whatever it takes to win. Take a listen.
There's no ego with me. I just want to go win. It's not about shots for me. It's not about having the ball in my hands the whole game. It's about winning. I want to make winning plays. I know when, over a course of game, when I need to be aggressive, when I need to raise the level. But for me, it's about winning. That's all I care about is trying to win, putting everything towards that. And that's really the conversation us three need to have, myself, Joel, and Tyrese. Whatever it takes, let's go do it. Let's get the job done. And then we just relay that to the team.
I love
that's an awesome answer.
That is a great answer. And again, I believe that's 100% genuine.
Yes.
I don't think he is at the point of his career where he's worried about compiling stats. The stats he thinks matters is the win column.
Yeah.
And we may end up getting the fact that he last year in a contract year, now it was a contract year, had his best statistical year across the board. Now he's stepping into a situation where he says, look, the statistics got him paid. The statistic he cares about now is money.
And I love
winning. Excuse me.
Yeah.
And the money, too.
Money helps. But
that does help.
It's the winning. And I love those answers.
That's a great answer.
Paul George, he's been great ever since he signed with the Sixers. I mean, everything that he's had to say, you love the honesty about the LA thing during the podcast.
And he did. On his podcast, he did say that.
Right.
I was surprised he didn't reinforce that yesterday. But it was he's an impressive man.
Yeah.
And I'm very excited. Again, as it all unfolds and they talk about all the different pieces, and I heard Daryl Morey yesterday on the station talking about all the different pieces. I honestly, and I raise my hand and I apologize. I can't believe what Daryl Morey accomplished this offseason.
It's been amazing, man.
I don't honestly, and look, it's got to all come together and it's got to work on the court, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to hear that critique. What he did with a blank slate, I never expected he could put together a team like this from a blank slate like he did.
And right before the Paul George signing happened, it seemed like it wasn't going to happen.
No,
and we all thought
it looked ugly.
Well, it looked really ugly. But
when you were getting on the plane, you weren't getting on that plane that Sunday night feeling optimistic.
Absolutely not. And then I landed in Estonia, and everything changed.
There you go.
And I had a beer to celebrate, and because of the flying. All right, so
throw that
a little bit of programming note. I'm sorry, Bob.
What is Cooney stealing more of the greatest interviews?
No,
for us
I'm scheduling Bob's show. I'm sorry, Bobby. We know that Nick Sirianni speaks at 9:00, so in about 20 minutes, allegedly. And then practice begins at 10. And I say allegedly because they're never on time. Practice begins at 10.
And Bob will critique us for taking the interview, saying that we're just putting our feet up.
Yes.
That's just sort of what goes on behind the scenes. But you're saying Cooney may do the same?
There's more. Following practice today, Jalen-Hurts will speak to the media.
Oh!
Now,
the one we all want to hear.
Jeff McClain put this out there. He says that Hurts will be available after the workout. So I don't know if that's going to be a podium piece or if that's going to be off to the side surrounded by reporters and we have to wait for somebody to post video.
I got a feeling they, especially with camp, at least from what I've observed, it's going to be a podium.
That's my guess.
It's going to be
because everybody's at the podium. I remember Boston Scott sitting at the podium last year.
He would get swarmed at.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're going to put him at the podium, if only for his own safety and distance.
So, with Jalen-Hurts speaking today, we're all kind of waiting for the first chance to respond to a question regarding Nick Sirianni.
Yes.
And I'm very happy that the Eagles, I think it's a smart move that they're doing this today. Like, just get it out of the way, man. Like, I don't know if he was obligated to speak today or if it could have been tomorrow or if it could have been Friday. I'm just glad whether they scheduled it today or not on purpose. I'm glad that it's today so we can get this freaking over with.
I've never seen a starting quarterback for an NFL team that I have been around and doing this job a long time that has not spoken on opening day.
Okay.
So I believe, I don't know that it's obligated, that there's a rule, but I believe it's something that I've always seen.
Also, I'm saying, that during the regular season, quarterback is obligated to speak post-game.
Absolutely.
And then is obligated to speak, Wednesdays during the week, something like that?
Usually or whatever.
I don't know if they're obligated. I don't know if it's in their contract to talk today. I'm just glad that it's happening today.
And I think it's been arranged that he probably wants the opportunity.
All right, and I hope he hits it out of the park. I expect him to hit it out of the park, because if he doesn't, then we have more issues to focus on.
I'm going to drive by Dick's Sporting Goods on the way home, look at all the T-shirts, and I'm probably going to be able to figure out what he's going to say.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So Nick Sirianni coming your way at 9 o'clock. We will carry it live. Coming up next, I'll ask you, what do you want to hear from the head coach on day one of training camp? It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5, The Fanatic.
Now, a Birds Insider update on 97.5.
Positive Josh is here.
Dude, I'm positive Andrew today.
No, but the thing is, the weird thing is, I think you are mostly positive.
Yeah, I usually am. I just have questions and concerns, but I've ignored them today because today I want to turn the page and I want to have fun and I want to have a good time. And training camp begins at 9 o'clock. I love Andrew DeCecco. There's a big welcome to training camp sign that was built above NovaCare. And Andrew DeCecco posted the photo of it. He's getting the juices flowing, man. And Nick Sirianni will speak to the media coming up at 9 o'clock. We will air that press conference live here on Kincade and Salciunas. And then Jalen-Hurts will speak to the media following practice today. And hopefully we can have our answers or our concerns squashed.
It's going to
be beef can be squashed.
Whether it's true or not what he says, I think Jalen's going to come out, hit it out of the park today.
Yeah, I think he's going to have it prepared.
And I think he's going. Yeah, but I don't think he's going to sound prepared. I think he's going to do a damn good job with it, and we're going to have a positive day for him.
Damn right. I sure hope so. All right, so Sirianni speaks at 9. Now, I'll ask you guys, what would you like to hear from him? And I know that's a pretty broad question because I don't know what's going to be asked. It's not like there's much drama going into camp other than the Serianni-Hurts thing and now the injury to Cooper DeJean that came out of nowhere last night. But what is something that you want to hear from Nick Sirianni today? I'll tell you, I want to hear more about what his involvement will be with the offense during camp because that will be another bullet point in terms of the timeline of Sirianni's involvement. Remember, when Kellen Moore first got hired, he was asked what his role was, and he said to be the head coach. Then a follow-up later on down the road, I think probably around the combine, he said that it was still going to be his offense with Kellen Moore's offense. Then he backtracked even more, saying that it's Kellen Moore's offense and how cool it was. Remember during OTAs?
Yes, he did.
He was like, oh, my God, it's everything is advertised. I want to find out today what his involvement will be with the offense during training camp, and that involvement could be just standing on the sideline.
I want to hear how he plans to balance head coaching but individual position coaching like he's done in previous camps.
Okay.
How hands-on he wants to get and how observatory he wants to get, because honestly, in his role, he's going to be more of an overseer and observer this year. Does he approach camp differently?
Right.
What's his game plan?
All right.
That's my biggest question for him today.
Connor, what are you looking forward to hearing from Sirianni, or you hope, I should say, to hear from Sirianni?
Yeah, I do want to hear him address the Hurts thing. I know he's been on a certain side of it where he hasn't perpetuated this beef, I'll say with the quotation marks, but I would like to hear him, if we're going to hear Hurts address it, I'd like to hear his thoughts on where that stands right now since it's become a question. And I also want to know where he's at mentally about how he's going to be on the sidelines. Like, I know it's not...
That's a great question.
It's not camp specific, but it's like there have been questions about your demeanor on the sidelines.
Maturity.
Have you thought about making a change to that as we prepare for another season?
Well, prepare to wait for it longer.
Yeah.
Why?
Jeff McClain just tweeted it's been pushed back to 9:15. I told you.
You did say
it's
that.
Never freaking
Classic.
on time. You guys are never on time, Eagles. All right, think about the little people. Think about the radio man. Think about the person in their car that's waiting to go into the job, but they want to hear the head coach speak first.
Well, no, they can stay for an extra 15 minutes.
Positivity.
By the way, Howie Roseman will join him during the press conference.
Ooh.
McClain said this was how it was the previous 3 opening days of camp.
It says, though, that Howie Roseman will sit above him with the strings. Too, so he will be able to. It'll be like
he's always been the puppet master, man.
If know what though, this year it might be different. Howie may actually stick his hand right up the back of Nick's shirt and do it like a Charlie McCarthy doll.
So here's my thing: like, can't they do it separately?
Why does it have to be there?
I don't want one.
Why does he have to be a babysitter there?
I have like 20 questions for Sirianni. And when it's Sirianni and Howie, now some of it gets taken away. Remember the last couple Howie Roseman and Sirianni press conferences?
Where he took questions away from Nick?
Dude, Nick answered one question in some of them. Like, come on. Why can't we just have them both do it separately?
I'm going to tell you right now.
Maybe it softens the blow.
I don't believe Mike McCarthy will be at a podium at the beginning of camp with Jerry Jones next to him. I don't believe that we're going to see Brian Dable at a press conference talking to the media with his GM, Joe Shine or whatever it is, next to him. To me, that's what I'm just going to say. I don't think that should be there. I don't think that's the way it should be.
I really hope that there are questions that are asked that are just answered by Nick. That's all. Honestly, man, like, it's great when you hear the GM. I just wish you were separately. That's my...
Well, I don't know, dude. By the time we get to 9:10, it might be Jeffrey Lurie with him, too. This has changed.
By the time we get to 9:10, it's going to be 10:05 tomorrow that they end up speaking. Let's go to Aaron in Philly. What's up, Aaron?
Hey, Andrew and John. How y'all doing?
Yo, what's up, man?
Aaron?
Hey, man, you know why he got to go up there? Because Nick ain't going to know what to say. So he needs to know.
No. If he starts, I'll tell you this. I don't want to hear, how about this? I don't want to hear him answer any on-field questions. You know what I mean?
Right.
Howie should be seen and not heard about that.
Okay. Cooper DeJean, man, that broke my heart.
Yeah, it sucks, doesn't it?
That's the one I was going to talk about all today with you. Because I want all playmakers on the field. Because they had no playmakers last year in the secondary. I want playmakers all this year, man. You know, when they get the ball, they can do something with it. Not dropping interceptions, but God forbid, catching something.
Right, and the idea of him, too, is that he could be anywhere on the field. He could be in the slot.
Yeah.
He could be outside. They can move him around all over the place. They can move him up in the box. And now, all of a sudden, one of the guys we're most intrigued in watching during training camp isn't going to be participating for the next 3 weeks. It sucks.
Okay, let me run to the Sixers. John, did you hear about Reggie Jackson getting picked up?
I did hear that. I don't. What's he got left, Aaron?
Veteran presence.
I got that, but what's he got left?
He averaged 10 last year. I'll take him. I'll start him if he comes.
He's not
start him at
starting.
point.
You can't start him.
Nice, come on.
Who you going to start at point? Who you going to start at point? Right now?
Oh, there's also Kyle Lowry.
I think Kyle Lowry's more likely.
Yeah.
Than Reggie Jackson?
Yeah.
Yes.
At least he can move, man.
Dude, Kyle Lowry was tremendous for them in the regular season and the playoffs. Listen, Aaron, we're up against it. We got to go, man.
He played a lot more minutes than we all expected.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, the only thing is just another 6-foot guard. Not much length at the perimeter for the Sixers.
Well, remember, they're going to keep that empty roster spot.
Yep.
So you never know.
Yeah.
Give them that flexibility. I thought that was really interesting. So many interesting things came out of yesterday.
Look, it was a
great day.
A pedigree addition. Right? The guys performed. The guys played in the playoffs and won an NBA championship with the basketball team with the Denver Nuggets 2 years ago. All right, coming up next, we will hear from Nick Sirianni and Howie Roseman, now scheduled for 9:15. So we'll continue our topic discussions today, leading up to the press conference that we're all excited for with the head coach and the GM. It's Kincade and Salciunas, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Sirianni set to speak. I'm Connor Thomas, and this update's brought to you by WhatsApp.
this Wednesday morning here on 97.5 The Fanatic. I hope you had a safe trip into work today. And I'm sorry if you're going to sit in your car. Tell your boss, listen, not my fault we're late. Nick Sirianni and Howie Roseman are late. If they're late for their jobs, why can't I be late for mine?
They're never on time.
Nick Sirianni, originally scheduled for 9:30, moved to 9 a.m., moved to 9:15 with Howie Roseman. We will carry the press conference live whenever it happens here on Kincade and Salciunas, as today's day one of training camp. I saw a tweet from John Clark during the break. He posted it yesterday.
By the way, how great was that that John Clark had the pictures from New York Airport?
Oh, I'm not surprised at all. It's Johnny Airport. He's got connections.
There he goes.
He also had a photo of Nolan Smith. Actually, it was from the Eagles' Twitter account.
Was he in his Urkel glasses or not?
Yes, he was.
Yes.
And wearing a gray sweatshirt that looks like the arms might rip off soon, because apparently Nolan Smith has gained muscle and weight this offseason. He's now at 245 pounds. I don't know what he weighed in at last year, but he comes in at 245, and that guy's going to have a role this year. He did not have a role last season.
And I blame the Eagles.
Yes, me too.
Because I'm going to always say, if I'm only going to be able to judge a player by what I see, by what I see them be able to do. He wasn't given the opportunity, and his GM called him out about it. Called out the head coach about it.
Publicly.
Yes.
Publicly.
So you can't just knock guys into the ground.
He came in at 238 last season, by the way, so 7 pounds extra of muscle.
Love that movie.
You look at the photo. The dude's 7 pounds more muscle. I don't think there's any body fat on that guy.
So he's trying to do the Superman thing then, because he's got the
glasses.
He's got the Urkel glasses, and then he's playing turns it in there.
He's playing into it, and hopefully he is Superman for the Eagles this year. And that's something to be excited about. So that's what we've been talking about today. Would love to get some answers on this from you on the text line, the phone line, 610-632-0975. What are you most excited about to follow along during training camp this season for the Philadelphia Eagles? And Nick Sirianni will be speaking around 9:15. What do you want to hear from the head coach? Jay in West Philly has an answer. What do you got, Jay?
What's going on, yo?
What's up, Jay?
What's up, Jay?
Hey, look, is there any question why Jalen hesitated when they asked him that question?
What do you mean, the question?
Because Sirianni got to sit up there with, Roseman got to sit up there with Sirianni every time he go out there to talk.
Okay.
I mean, this is the fourth time they're doing it.
Hey, Jay, you know when Nick Sirianni had no problem talking without Howie on the dais? Is when he covered for Jalen Hurts, who literally blew the Seattle game because he decided to go rogue. He thought he knew better. So don't give me this. Don't give me. Come on, Jay. Don't give me this. Not at the end of it, Jay. Jay, not on the most critical play of it, Jay. Not the most critical play of a game when two guys were schemed wide freaking open. All you had to do was get the easy conversion.
Those the same players that went on a run when A.J. Brown had 120 yards.
They did. In the middle of the season, it wasn't the last possession of a game on the road when you're trailing, and you're either going to tie it or you're going to take the lead. Don't give me, Jay, you're going to die in a wrong mountain here.
For what reason? Because quarterbacks don't make decisions?
No, because no, Jay. No, Jay.
Head coach,
no.
Every time he's got to talk, he needs somebody up there to hold his hand.
No, Jay. He didn't need anybody to hold his hand.
Listen, he's not going up there to hold his hand, man.
He
Come
stood
on,
there.
Jay.
He sat there.
What is he doing then?
He's the GM of the football team. He's going to answer questions too. They've been doing this for 4 years now, Jay. This is nothing new. I got to go.
Come on, Jay. That's being ridiculous.
Look, last year it sucked, right? We all know it sucked. And Nick Sirianni, I did not want him to come back. This is nothing new. It's the fourth straight year that they're doing this. Howie Roseman's not going up there to hold his hand. And Howie Roseman's going up there because he also wants to be part of the press conference.
And Nick, he wants to take shots at Nick and cover for Jalen.
Yes.
Nick Sirianni had no problem stepping up to the microphone without Howie Roseman and covering for Jalen Hurts.
This doesn't even have to be a Hurts versus Sirianni thing. This doesn't have to be anything. This is a non-story. Howie Roseman will also be at the podium with Nick Sirianni. I can't believe I'm just annoyed because selfishly, I'd rather there be more time for Sirianni and more time for Howie Roseman. When the two of them are together, then you have less time for both of them individually.
Howie, please, do not answer on-field questions about the players. Don't say, can I take that one? I'm going to take that one. Don't do what you've done to your coach before because you literally were like the SPCA and you neutered him in front of the media. Don't do it this time. He needs to learn. He needs to learn from his mistakes on that.
Well, Nick's already been neutered.
Yeah,
so
but you brought back
harm in that
because you brought back the coach. You brought back your coach. Let him do his damn job.
You didn't bring him back to do the job he did last year.
No, he brought him back this year. Let him do his job. Don't feel the need to step in there like you're some sort of football coach.
It's a collaborative effort.
Because you aren't. You aren't.
He's a football guy.
No, he's not a football coach.
It's a collaborative effort, John.
Not a football coach.
All right, so now that we got Jay's call out of the way, Connor, what do we have on the text line about our initial topic today where we asked, what are you most excited about to follow along during training camp, which begins today?
Yeah, we have a check-in on the VIP text line here from one Andrew DeCecco, who was listening.
Oh, he's
earlier.
checking in.
Yes, he is. And he says, in response to the patience discourse, Kincade is way off base. Connor, you are the voice of reason. And
Wait a minute. This does not.
I swear, I'll show you the text.
This is hacked. He was hacked.
A more measured approach is a smart approach. Talk tomorrow morning at 8:10 a.m.
Oh, so now he's drawing lines in the sand.
He is.
You know what? I think DeCecco's getting a little too comfortable, Andrew.
Are we fighting a war on two fronts now?
I think DeCecco's getting a little comfortable.
I like that he's comfortable.
And the minute that he says that Connor's
he's
the
wrong
voice of
doesn't mean
reason,
he's comfortable.
Yeah, we're going to make him uncomfortable tomorrow morning.
All right.
I'm ready for it.
I don't understand.
You better rest up.
Andrew, and look, Connor, you said Andrew DeCecco is saying it logically, or he's seeing the light. People, when it comes to football, don't necessarily see the light. Even Adam Schefter said it. When we had Schefter on, he was like, there's no such thing as patience.
Okay.
There is none.
You can't do
Especially
that.
when you're going into a season with a head coach that is on a hot seat. Like, there's no patience.
And there's no way that people are going to believe, like, Joel Embiid is going to be healthy, and there's no way people are going to not consume baseball like football, and there's no, there's stuff in this town that is wrong, and we're never going to get by it, but if I believe it's the wrong way to handle it,
Connor,
I'm going to argue.
It's not a this town thing when it comes to football. That's
okay, well,
every
That's
town.
my perspective
That's
is the town of Philadelphia. I'm not really comparing it to anything
No, he's
else.
just speaking about us. And I
Okay,
get you.
yeah, I get
And you didn't know lies detected. But
Right.
it's the idea. But it's the idea is that patience, BS.
Bro,
Yeah,
I'm fighting
that's
a
the
losing
thing.
battle. I know this.
Damn right
You can't,
you
have,
are.
a- you,
I'm
can't
gonna
have
fight
a,
it.
you can't have a top 2 roster in the NFL and then say, but everybody needs to just be patient.
Right.
No, BS.
And the funny thing with Andrew is that he's patient on the offense.
Right,
No,
on the
patient on the offense, but
and not with the defense.
crazy. All right, what else do we have on the text line, Connor?
All right, we have a check-in here on what they're interested in to see from Brian in New Jersey. He's saying he's most excited to see how the year 2 to 3 guys have progressed, specifically on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, I mean, look, Jordan Davis, that's what we've talked about him a lot at length.
And I'm probably not, and it's unfair. I'm getting somebody
I don't
on
think it's
Twitter
unfair at
saying to
all.
me, he goes, John, you can't say that you're positive on him and then say, but I'm not going to know till December. The critique has been December on, 2 years in a row. I'm being honest.
I don't know how that's unfair.
And I don't think that's unfair. I really do not think it's unfair.
He has fallen off the last 2 years.
The last 2 Decembers, his productivity has fallen off significantly. That's on him. That's on him to correct, and we won't know until December.
And, oh, by the way, it's going to be even more highlighted this year now that Fletcher Cox isn't here. Remember, 2 years ago, it wasn't really highlighted because Ndamukong Suh and Linval Joseph were brought in after they
When he got hurt.
They
Well,
lost.
he had to miss
they
a
lost
month.
to the game against the Commanders. That was the first loss of the season. Howie signed those 2 guys right away, and it didn't matter that his production fell off following his injury. Last year, his production fell off, but Fletcher Cox was playing at such an amazing high level. For his age, it was his final season. That dude was playing at a high level. It kind of masked what Jordan Davis was not doing.
He played
there's
better
no person. There's no person to fall on this year.
Fletcher Cox played better than he did in 2022.
Yeah.
The year they went to
He
the
was
Super
amazing.
Bowl. He did a great job.
There's no one to lean on this year. There's no one to mask what Jordan Davis might fall off to come December. Hopefully he doesn't. Hopefully,
he doesn't,
he
right.
continues to work on it and is in great shape, football shape, following the months of November. But like you said, John, we won't know until December.
No, we're not going to know.
Now, another player, year 2, we just talked about Nolan Smith. As much as I'm down on naming him a starter without competition, I'm curious to see Reed Blankenship in year 2 as a starter, year 3 in the NFL. Like, I imagine he will only get better. I
Yeah,
don't know.
believe that. I believe
I
that.
don't know how high
Experience.
his ceiling is, but
Right.
I think he will be better than what he did last year. There was a couple of times where it was blown coverage, or he got matched up one-on-one, and he was just beat because he is not
Absolutely.
as talented as other safeties in the NFL. But maybe another year in the NFL makes him better. It sucks that he's hurt. I'm really excited for the growth of Sidney Brown at some point. I don't know how much growth you see this year.
Yeah, nothing's happening the next month on that.
There's no camp, right? Like for him, it's if he plays right away, that he just starts playing. I saw Sidney Brown last year show great athleticism. I also saw him not really know how to play football because he took horrible routes on trying to make tackles last season.
I thought Nolan did too.
Yes, I did too.
It's weird to say, but that's what young players do when they
Right.
play. When they get to play.
Which Nolan Smith didn't really get to
Right.
play, and Sidney Brown's injury will keep him from being able to play a lot this season, which bums me out. That's another bummer. We haven't really talked about it much because we already knew he was hurt, but the Sidney Brown injury is a bummer to me.
That's a big one.
He was a missile last year.
He was.
Can
It's
hit,
just
he makes plays.
There were times where he just took horrible routes on ball carriers.
Yeah, dude, he's Brandon Marsh.
And if you look at exactly, Brandon Marsh takes Route 30 when he could have just taken the Schuylkill. To me though, I'm looking at this as Sidney Brown comes back probably around Thanksgiving. If we're being like November-ish, then by that time, I'm expecting these youngsters to also be a lot better in November than they were in September. We could see a really ascending secondary carrying them into the second half of the season. So you avoid late season collapses like we saw last.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was a big part of it.
I think a big part.
Like you have to be able to rotate some of these guys in, and I think Vic Fangio might know that. I think that may be an emphasis, right? Like, what do you do? Like, if you struggle at something, you try to sit down and figure out what you're struggling at. You try to get better at it, right?
Until you acknowledge it that you struggled at it, you're not going to fix it either. You have to acknowledge it.
Howie Roseman acknowledged it publicly, as you said. He
absolutely
he
did.
was very public with acknowledgement of the younger players not getting enough snaps last season, which may have led to the collapses of a Hassan Reddick and a Josh Sweat, some of the guys on the outside that were rushing the passer at a high clip. All right, give us another text, Connor. You can text the show. You can call into the show, 610-632-0975. We talked about a lot about what this thing we're most excited to see during training camp. We've also gotten into some Sixers discussion, reacting to what Paul George and Tyrese Maxey had to say, and Daryl Morey and Nick Nurse, all the interviews that were on the station yesterday afternoon, and middays. You can hear them again on 97.5thefanatic.com. But we have Nick Sirianni's press conference hopefully coming up in about 2 minutes. So let's try to sneak in another text message. What do we got?
No name on this one, but they say the real test for Kellen Moore and his vibes with the offense will be who do the offensive players interact with more during camp, him or Sirianni on the sidelines or in between drills?
I'd expect it's definitely going to. I don't think that's going to be up for debate.
No, and I don't think that's a vibe thing.
It's going to be Kellen Moore is going to be the boss. Kellen Moore is the one who's designing practice.
Yeah.
He's the one who's trying to implement his new offense. So we may not know by just something like that.
Yeah, I don't think it's a vibe thing. I mean, look, you look at defensive ends or defensive linemen normally talk to their defensive line coach more so than Vic Fangio. Look at the offensive line.
I love.
It's literally Jeff Stoutland.
One of my favorite things to do at a training camp is watching offensive line coaches run their units through drills.
Yeah.
And they are usually the most foul-mouthed, most interesting, fun things to watch. And some of it you're watching and I'm like, okay, I don't know even what they're working on.
Right.
I don't even know exactly what he's working on, but it sure looks intense.
I think
awesome.
I think everybody kind of just gets it. Like they know
It's so much fun.
I don't think there's going to be much confusion. With who they're going to pay attention to during practice.
No, it's got to be Kellen Moore.
Sirianni will have his time to talk. He will then, I hope, let Kellen Moore run the offense.
I hope that Howie will not have to step in like he did last year with Sean Desai.
I remember
when
that,
Sean Desai had the wrong personnel on the field for the drills that they were going to do.
That probably should have been a telltale sign right away.
My gosh.
Honestly.
We were defending him because he was a Temple guy. So we had his back on.
No, I think it was more so the inexperience. All right, he'll learn. This is his first real training camp as a defensive coordinator.
Guess what?
It didn't necessarily go all that well.
No, it did not.
All right, so as we wait Nick Sirianni and Howie Roseman, I asked you the question, what would you like to hear from Nick? I'm trying to figure out what I want to hear from Howie. Like, I don't.
What do you mean?
I don't really need him to speak right now.
I don't need to hear anything from Howie right now. And I'm not trying to be flippant. I don't need to hear from the general manager right now. What do I need to hear from the general manager?
I don't know, and I'm
This is about football. This is about on the field.
Well, and he's very much involved.
But I don't need to hear from him.
I just don't know what I'm going to get. Like, I don't know what more I'll get from Howie Roseman. It's not like they're going to be talking about acquiring players. Like, they already did it. He's already spoke after the draft, right? He already talked after offseason editions. So it's not like it's not like there's anything new for Howie to really talk about other than maybe his excitement for a new season and some expectations.
Yeah, but I don't need to hear that today. Today's about, honestly, and I'm not trying to be flippant. Today's about the football guys. It's not about the GM. No, it's not about the GM.
Howie's not a football guy?
I honestly,
Chip Kelly?
No, I'm going to tell you this. I broadcast from training camps for a long, long time in my career. I never remember the GM having to do something on the first day of training camp. I've had the owner.
Most GMs aren't football guys.
I've had the owner. He's not either. He's not either. Not about a football guy. Not about a football coach. Not about teaching technique. Not about game plans. He's not. He is a football guy in that he understands the business of football amazingly well. And he has a good group of scouts that he listens to, and he hands. I have the utmost respect for Howie Roseman. I don't need him on the field. I don't need him there, other than observing. I don't need him, and I don't need him talking about what's going on the field at training camp.
Well, hopefully we hear from them momentarily.
That would be great.
Like I told you, Connor, they weren't going to start on time.
So,
I never said they were.
They never freaking do. Now, as we filibust here, one thing that we haven't gotten into yesterday. Filibust, thank you. Yesterday we got into, or we didn't get into it, but it came out that it looks like it's going to go to 18 games at some point.
It
this
does.
NFL season.
Not
this season, but
they're in
soon.
negotiations right now.
Yeah. And I wonder how he could be asked about that, honestly. I mean, that might be something he needs to know about.
You'd have to ask who, I'm drawing a blank. Is it Slay? Who's the NFLPA rep?
For the Eagles? That's a great question.
I don't know who it is, if it is, but it might be Slay. I may be incorrect with that. But to me, that's something that you definitely would want to have asked there because the idea is I'm going to get my wish.
Brandon Graham.
Brandon
By the
Graham.
way, and his co-alternate is James Bradbury.
I'm going to get my wish of the President's Day weekend Super Bowl.
Yeah.
That's coming.
And that's exciting. I mean,
18 games.
We're still going to work. But
18 games, 2 bye weeks, and the season ends on President's Day weekend, and America has a holiday the day after.
I don't think anybody should not like that. Like,
if there's anybody complaining about that.
Look, the 18 games does scare me. I've always said that because of injuries and,
Okay.
I thought the product was bad last year. Now you're adding an extra game.
The 18th game, the 17 games has shown that the worry about extra injuries because of the 17th game is false. There's nothing to back that up. So I wouldn't say let's start talking about the 18th game.
I will just say,
causing it.
Based off of, I don't know, percentage chances, more games means more chance.
This is the same logic argument I've been having for weeks.
Like, more,
it is.
It's like the load management.
It is.
thing.
Well, they take it. You'd be losing a preseason game
that nobody plays in already.
That's something. No, that one of those. That third preseason game is usually nothing now. The second preseason game's a lot.
Not here.
It's a lot, exactly.
Not here, man. Not here at all.
Sean McVay thinks they practice too much here.
Yeah, exactly.
That's saying something.
So I don't know. Like it's one of the. It's like the universal DH. It's inevitable. Like, I know it's happening, so why waste my time and be all upset about it?
And by the way,
I am concerned about the injuries, though.
Were you against it, the universal DH?
Yeah, because I'm a traditionalist.
Okay,
but
and you haven't bothered. It hasn't bothered you
it hasn't
at all.
bothered me.
No, it hasn't bothered. Remember the pitch clock?
I love the pitch clock.
The clutching of the pearls.
No, I love it from the beginning.
Baseball, the pitch clock, and everything else. It's worked out beautifully for baseball.
It has.
It's
raised attendance everywhere.
Attendance is up 2.7%, I believe. Viewership is up.
Average age is down, which is good.
Average age is down by 8 years last year.
That's amazing.
And that's only going to continue to grow, you'd think.
Yeah, I would
it's
think
going to
so.
get better. Those numbers will get better. Everybody worried about that being a major issue. And you know who worried about it? The fundamentalists. The people who are the old school baseball fans that don't want it. I've enjoyed every minute of it. I love the pitch clock. I love the pace of games. It's great.
No, it's been fantastic. And so, it's one of those things where I know it's coming. The 18 games going to happen. I love more football. I just worry about the bodies of these players, and I do also worry about the product. They already don't practice much. Now you're adding an extra game. Because there's an extra game, they'll probably practice less.
I think it's fair.
You think about it, they're going, well, we got to play a whole other game. Like, why? We're going to practice even less. Training camps will be even less impactful, less physical, all this kind of stuff.
Well, there's only going to be 2 games, so you'd have to think significantly less playing time there.
Right, exactly.
You're going to see more of the joint practices, though, and that's something else that was brought up.
Right,
You're
which I'm in favor of that.
More teams doing the joint practices, and I think those are more productive anyway.
Yeah, they seem like, the way they handle it. They run the ones against the ones in joint practices. They don't do that in the preseason games. They don't even play anybody.
And they're still not, killing each other, clutching each other, where they're going to knock people to the ground and cause big problems.
Yeah, I don't think they're doing much open tackling. I know they are a little bit more physical.
They're going to be very careful about what they do.
Right, they absolutely will be. Again, we're awaiting the press conferences of Nick Sirianni and Howie Roseman, who will be speaking to the media momentarily. Watch, they'll get back to the original
We should have
time.
broke it 9:10, right?
Yeah.
That's the way these things go. But look, this is what you get. You get a fluid situation, and time management used to be a problem with Andy Reid. It's more of a time management problem right now with the current administration.
Yeah, it's just always been this way with the two of them, which is just a lot of fun. And they don't think about. I'm telling you, they don't think about the little man. Jeff Lurie wants to go to Brazil.
Man, we don't have patience for them. They're probably working on stuff to make sure they start hot because they've been hearing you guys get ready to rip them the second they struggle in game 1, but now they're a couple minutes late.
I really don't think that's accurate.
No, they're not They're 22 and a half minutes late.
I think they probably go.
Well, no, it was scheduled for 9:15.
They probably go.
No, it was scheduled for 9. Then it was rescheduled for 9:15.
And now it's 9:22.
And now it's late.
And we're going to get to the original timing, which was 9:30.
Connor, the great defender. He was Team Schefter earlier. Now he's like Team Sirianni.
All right, they're live. Here we are. Nick Sirianni, Howie Roseman.
As a work in progress. I'm curious, entering the 4th year, how is your relationship with Jalen, and maybe how did last year test?
Only thing you can judge your relationships on is your personal interactions with people, not any report that comes out. And Jalen and I's relationship is good. It's again, you just can judge it based off of what your personal interactions are. And so when you hear a report like that, you don't put much stock into it because, quite frankly, not everybody sees that. So I'm so excited for him and I to get into our 4th year together. We've done some pretty special things, and I'm really excited for him. He's worked so hard at his game. I'm excited for him to be able to get back out here today and have a good practice today. And, just looking forward to continuing to work with him and continue to build on the special things that we've done.
Your role a little bit. How has that changed your relationship with Jalen? You have to work real hard.
You know what? That's a good question because I'm not in that quarterback room all the time anymore. So it's like some of those times you'd have that natural relationship because you're always in there. But what I think's been beneficial for that everybody needs that time with me, not just me being in the quarterback room, me being able to be in the defensive end room, me being able to go into the linebacker room. So naturally, when you're not just with the quarterbacks, you have to carve out a little bit more time to talk to them, that you wouldn't get when you're in there all the time. So yeah, you do that I do that for every position, and now I just have to do that a little bit more with the quarterback position because I'm not in there full time.
To both of you, I guess there was a report about the coordinators and Howie, you involved in the hiring. Nick, you talked about it. Could you guys kind of clarify that process?
I can do it. I feel included a little bit in this. Is this work? Is this like does this work? Yeah, no, that's exactly what I was thinking.
I don't think this works.
I think through our process of looking at our first round pick, I feel like myself, our scouts, we had great information on him. Obviously, he went to Toledo. Nick's college roommate is the head coach of Toledo. When Nick came to me and he said, hey, I got this information on cue, it made me feel much better about the selection that we already felt good about. it's the same process for when we do coaches. Nick will come to me and say, these are the guys I'm thinking about. Do you have any relationship? Do you know these guys? Obviously, I've been in the league a long time. I had prior relationships with both of those guys. It makes him feel better about the decision he's making. I mean, these aren't under-the-radar guys. These are talented guys that have been in the league for a long time. And that's how good organizations make decisions. At the end of the day, I'm responsible for the players that I bring in here, draft, free agency, and he's responsible for his coaching staff. But we work together. That's the whole part of being a team.
Howie, it's our first time speaking to these things, the coaching staff changes. What factor into those, and how's it different without that?
Yeah, I think you're constantly looking at ways to evolve as a staff. You're kind of looking at things that you can do different. And I think from our perspective, we made a bunch of staff changes. I think total 6 people have kind of changed roles. We're excited about that. We wish all the best to the people who left here. And obviously, as we go through the 2024 season starting today, really excited about that. And we'll all be judged on the result.
Nick, what kind of changes should we expect to see out here, whether it's length of practice, physicality, or whatever?
Yeah, obviously this first week is going to be, there's an acclimation period that everybody has to go through, week in, week out, but particularly that first week. You'll see some different things, but again, that's so fluid. Like, you're always constantly, like, to this morning I added 12 plays to practice. I'm like, hey, we felt good yesterday, guys came back in great shape. You know what, I want to work a situational period today that's going to add a couple plays. I want to work a conditioning period today that's going to add a couple plays. But that changes based off of how the day is and how you think the guys are. That's just something that's completely fluid. You'll see a lot of the same things, and there'll be obviously differences. Everything was evaluated last year from last year, and again, don't want to belabor and talk about. We've answered all the questions from last year. We've talked about that, but the things that we learned from every practice length, practice schedule, schemes. Everything's been evaluated, and everything that we felt like needed to be tweaked has been tweaked.
Now, as far as acquisition, I know you're always talking about acquisition period runs up to the trading deadline, and always looking at the roster and ways to improve it.
He's looking at me.
Yeah,
okay.
Some lessons.
Thank you.
There.
But anyway, when you look at this roster now, how do you evaluate it? Are you happy with it? I mean, do you see any strengths, weaknesses, anything like that you can share?
Probably look at it a little differently. I don't think that I'm ever looking at it kind of in those terms. I feel really excited about the opportunity to evaluate these guys on a daily basis and see where we are as a team, see where we are as a roster. We're going to spend a lot of time making sure that we know every player that's on our 90-man, 91-man roster at this time, and be open to ideas about improving that roster. I think that when you get in a position in this league and you feel good about something, it's a very humbling league, and things happen. So, it's our opportunity to constantly have our eyes open about what we see. The beautiful thing, I said it to a coach this morning, the beautiful thing about it is everyone here is ours, so you're not playing favorites because you've brought everyone in here. At the same token, we have an obligation to put the best team forward, whether that's including the practice squad and the 53-man roster, and we'll never be content. That would be a disservice to our fans, to our players, to our coaches.
Nick, how are you mad at Gillenford expressed dismay the fact that we've had to change coordinators, offensive schemes on a yearly basis. This past year, obviously, there's been change. Even in this last offseason, he said he wished he had coaching consistency, such as like maybe a Jeff Stoutland at the offensive line. There seems to be a discrepancy between what he thinks is going to be 95% changing in the offense versus what you have said. How much more does he have to learn this offseason?
We're all in a work in progress as far as learning different things on our offense, on our defense, on our special teams, things we're doing, situational football. Obviously everything we do as far as, changes we make in the staff, changes we make to, your offense or your defense is all for what we believe is good for the team and will help us. Even staffs that have, the same play caller, they tweak things year in, year out, right? Because if you stay still in this league will catch up to you quickly. And so, as far as the percentage or anything like that, we are working to do what we do best. So, like I said, there's things that, there are things that we've done well in the past that we'll continue to do. There's things that are going to be new tweaks and new things completely. And like I said to you guys, I think I said this after, as far as a play may look exactly the same on tape, right? You may say, okay, I'm looking at this play. Oh, I saw them run that play a bunch last year, and they ran it a bunch this time. But sometimes you're coaching it a little bit differently, and that's evolving as an offense. That happens even when you have the same a similar staff, similar staff. But there are people that are same on the staff, right? The tight end coach is the same. The running back coach is the same. The assistant head coach, who's Kevin Patullo, is the same. Right, the wide receiver coach is the same. The offensive line coach is the same. TJ's moved up in his role to assistant offensive line coach. So there are a lot of similarities in coaching styles and coaching staff, and some of the things that we're doing with little tweaks here and there.
I would also say, and this isn't related to Jalen, the hardest part about continuity in the NFL from front office, from a coaching staff, is that you win, you lose people. You lose people. And so it's really hard to keep a lot of good people in place for a long period of time. This is nothing about Jalen, but just in general. So, it's just probably a little bit different than other industries where it's hard to do that. And, of course, I'm sitting here. And
what are your thoughts on the Giants' Hard Knocks?
The Giants aren't Hard Knocks? My thoughts. We got to mind our own business. I think we got enough on our plate than worrying about everyone else. And from my perspective, every day I come in here and there's things that we got to do to make sure that we're doing the right thing and we're getting better. And so it's hard for me to really judge what anyone else is doing.
How are you managing having lost Cooper for 3 weeks?
Sorry. How does Cooper DeJean's injury affect your plans for him and send him back around?
Well, obviously it sets him back, right, to not be out here the first 3 weeks. But we were excited about him when we drafted him. We were excited about the things that he did during OTAs and the offseason work, and we're still excited about him. He's going to have to take his mental. He's going to have to get a lot of mental reps these next couple weeks that he'll be out rehabbing that injury, and he'll do that. I'm confident in the person that he'll do that. He's going to have to work hard at that, and then and then be able to come back when it's his time to come back, when that injury's healed itself up, and then get those physical reps. I'm really confident that he'll do that though. Because we've spent so much time on the person as well as the player, and excited about that he'll do that. What he needs to do in the classroom.
And I would just add to that. I'm sorry, Coach. I would just say that also, we're bummed. That's our second round pick. We want to see him out here on the first day, but we also think that this guy's going to be with us for a long time, and so we have tremendous confidence in his ability to pick things up and to come back and kind of keep running. And obviously it's a long season, and we're counting on him.
How easy you guys run rolling out every summer? Do you look forward to that? For the most part, I guess under contract. What goes into that? How important is that? And how much, I guess, do you spend making sure that doesn't happen?
Yeah, I think it starts with ownership. I think it starts with Jeffrey's ability to let us sign guys early and to try to get out ahead of things, which we couldn't do without his help and his support. So I think he deserves the credit on this. Listen, again, you're dealing with 91 guys. Like, you're going to have issues. It's not going to be perfect. And I actually thought what Fred Warner said was really freaking unbelievable, where it's like, the better you get, the more of those issues you're going to have. So when you're a good team, people are going to be responsible for making you a good team, and those players are going to want to be compensated that way. Those coaches, the front office personnel, and so I think it's just the nature of a business. I think that obviously, the key for us has been to go to guys early and try to get ahead of those things, but it's not perfect, and I'm sure sitting here we'll have issues going forward, and I think that it's hard to understand, what goes on in those situations from other teams because we're sitting here with kind of our own issues and our own situations.
As you go into camp here, are you looking at Beckham primarily at guard or tackle, and are you looking at Bradbury primarily at safety?
Again, versatility is going to be key for guys, and so we'll see as camp goes along. But Makai's going to have to be able to do both, and James is going to have to be able to do both, and so looking forward to seeing some of that with those guys. And but like I said, that's fluid as it goes on. You'll see some of that out here today.
As you turn over at the receiver position, how do you feel about that third spot?
Yeah, really excited to get out here and see the candidates that we have. We brought in guys that we think have talent and the ability to contribute for us, but to sit here and say that's not something we're going to be watching every day and seeing who step up and how the chemistry is with Jalen, it's important, and I think that you look at it throughout the league. That position's an important position. We brought in guys in free agency. We drafted a couple of guys, and I think it's something that we're going to be watching, among other things, daily and see who steps up.
What in your mind is the competition at some of these spots really start to heat up and say, we're not getting that?
Well, right away. I mean, everything's being evaluated. Everything they do. The conditioning test was evaluated. The way they came back was evaluated. The way they're going to practice with helmets is going to be evaluated. The way they practice with and the way they walk through is going to be evaluated. So every competition it started in OTAs, and it's going to continue here. Now, this is football, right? And so when those pads come on, it's different, right? And especially for certain positions, it changes completely of when you have the pads on and when you don't have the pads on. So everything's evaluated. Everything competition is being happening. That's a core staple of who we are as a program. Compete, toughness, all those different things, because that's what we base our program on. But naturally, some positions step up even more when the pads come on.
What's the plan for right guard?
Yeah, we'll see. Obviously, don't have to release a depth chart yet. Don't have to say what our plans are, just like we don't have to say what our plans are for our end of game defense. That would be something that we are continuing to work through. Obviously we'll see as we go, and looking forward to today. And Tyler will start out there at the right guard position today as we start. But we'll see how that goes.
Nick, you talked about that 30,000-foot view you have now, and I know you're constantly evaluating things, but it is a little bit of a different role. Did you come into this day one with one or two different things that say, hey, now I can do this a little bit more, now I can focus?
Obviously, the way you come out here and I'm going to be coaching guys up, right? And that's what's fun. You're going to be able to go but I feel like I've been doing that since, even though I was only with the offense, and I wouldn't say only with the offense, yeah, I mean, I'm just looking forward to getting out here and coaching guys up. And it doesn't matter what position, whether it's, Paris Campbell or whether it's Rick Lovato, or I don't have a ton of great coaching points for the long snapper. That's not my expertise.
Who walks by next will be the next name called out.
Or whoever it is. But I'm just looking forward to getting back out there, coaching guys up, and then getting in the film room and kind of living out our core values.
Is it difficult to kind of just explain it and teach it to 90 guys? What's the process been like figuring out staff and practicing?
Obviously we've spent a lot of time on that and really going to keep that close to the vest, obviously, because that's new for everybody. Everyone essentially is year one coordinator for the new kickoff and the kickoff return. And so we'll keep a lot of that close to the vest, but I'm really confident in our special teams coaches. We've continually gotten better at special teams throughout these past 3 years. Michael Clay deserves a ton of credit. He's done an unbelievable job. He's a great young coach who works daily to try to get better. The guys love Coach Clay. The players that play for him play their butts off for him. And that's just a testament to him, Coach Panunzio, Coach Tyler Brown, Coach Seeley, and just the guys that have been here helping us, continuing to improve. But looking forward to the new challenge of that element of the game, because it's going to be new for everybody, but we'll keep a lot of that close to the vest as we go.
Have rotated a lot along the defensive line. Vic's history seems to be to lean a little bit more heavily on his top guys. How do you find common ground?
Yeah, first I'd like to give Coach a lot of credit for incorporating crowd noise into our press conferences this year for our players.
Got to be able to focus in stressful times.
I think obviously you have to adjust to whoever the coordinator is and what they do. In a lot of ways, it's exciting, to see what our guys can do. We have a lot of young players, certainly in the interior of our defensive line, that should be able to play maybe a little bit higher percentage of the snaps. But you still need guys rotating. You still need good players. I think it's always been important to us to have a lot of defensive linemen who can play at a high level through the course of the year and that can come in and rotate. That's not going to change. Will it look exactly the same where maybe, you're taking a number that's 55 or 60 and now you're at 65 or 70? Probably not. I think also that's why the conditioning is so important. That's why our players coming into camp into great shape, knowing that they're going to play more. And I think it's all going to be player dependent, on how they're playing. But it's something that's probably a little bit different, but not significantly different.
And Vic Fangio hasn't been, just adding to what Howie said, Vic Fangio has been a great coordinator in this league. And we're not talking 10 years, 20 years. We're talking 3 decades worth of being an unbelievable coach. And so you don't do that unless you adapt to the players that you have, and you adapt your schemes, you adapt to your surroundings, you adapt to the way the game's changing. And we feel good about, we feel good about our depth. I know Vic feels good about our depth, and looking forward to guys like, Marlin and Morrow. Those guys continuing to develop and play a good role. Those guys, particularly those 2 guys, have shown toughness. They've shown their hard work throughout the offseason. They came back in great shape, and I'm looking forward, to seeing those guys go out there and practice and having good camps.
And one of the things, Bo, too, I think, for us, we've been very fortunate here where we've really given our young players kind of the ability to kind of develop and not play as much. I'm really excited to see the opportunity for those guys going forward because of where we are. Obviously, we have a lot of high-paid players here. There's great opportunity for young players for us going forward, and I think we have the right players here. That's one of the exciting things about this camp is seeing these young players get an opportunity to carve out a role, how significant that role is. Because I think, you look at our sport, you look at a lot of different sports, and there are opportunities for young players to develop, and you don't really know how they're going to develop and how they're going to play until they get the opportunity. And because of the teams we've had in the past couple of years, which has obviously been good, some of those young players haven't had as big a role. So I'm really excited about that and watching that. Obviously, I'm biased. We brought those guys here, but it'll be fun to watch.
Time for a couple more.
With in terms of the secondary, last year lots of injuries. How much more prepared is this secondary for this season? And in relation to how Vic uses that, is it also equipped for his system?
Well, we'll see. Obviously we got to go with what we see here going forward. We brought in a lot of new people into our secondary. We thought it was an area that we had to address. I'm really excited again to see those guys go out and play. I think, I didn't do a good enough job last year fortifying the secondary, and it showed with our depth. Our best teams have had our best depth with our best players. And I'm ready to call plays in hostile environments after this press conference.
Last year, you viewed Kobe as the top linebacker. Where is he now going into the season, both from an organizational perspective and health-wise?
That's going to be something that's a great that's going to be a great competition to play out. I believe, we added some great guys in free agency and the draft. I'm really excited. I mean, you look at some of the things, and we'll never say, hey, these are the positions we're excited about the battles at. But sometimes Howie and I talk about it, man, I can't wait to see that linebacker position. We feel really good about the guys that have been added and the guys that were back from last year, and just so excited to see how that goes. Now, Nakobe came back in great shape, worked his butt off. He said to me yesterday, "Man, are we putting the pads on tomorrow?" When I walked past him, I know he's ready. I know he's ready mentally. I know he's ready physically. I'm excited to see him, and I'm excited to see that position.
I think I broke that rule talking about a couple positions I'm excited about, right? I think for us, we have tremendous confidence in Nakobe. That's why we drafted him. That doesn't change. And sometimes it's because of how much you liked him throughout the process and bringing him here. So we're really excited about him. He's got the right mentality. There's no question in my mind what his contributions were to one of the best defenses in the history of college football. I know that from watching the tape. I know that from talking to the coaches. And then the opportunity is there. The opportunities at that position, I think, we're excited to see what that brings. Obviously, it's a position that in Philadelphia we understand comes under a little bit more of the microscope, and that's probably warranted.
Last one, Tim. Jalen, what are the key things that you're looking forward to see him in his development as a leader?
Yeah, I've been fortunate to be with Jalen now coming on my 4th year. I think he's got tremendous energy, tremendous work ethic. Just like all of us, everything that he feels like he can continue to work on, he will do. This is a guy that obviously has brought us tremendous success since he's been our starting quarterback, has played at a tremendously high level. I have tremendous confidence in him that whatever he has to do to continue being an MVP candidate, he will do.
All right, there is the press conference with both head coach Nick Sirianni and Howie Roseman. We'll come back. We'll react to it quickly. And then you got the midday show with Bob Cooney coming up at 10 right here, 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Salciunas is presented to you by The Bagster. It's a dumpster in a bag. You can get yours today at Home Depot and Lowe's. You need details? Go to Bagster.com.
Johnny, talk to us.
Hey, join Window Nation and make a donation to the American Association for Cancer Research. Do it at 975thefanatic.com/AACR because cancer research saves lives.
All right, we'll react to the entire Roseman and Sirianni press conference tomorrow. But first, Bob Cooney.